Chapter 112. With a distressed expression, he continued, "Moreover, young Miss has always been on good terms with the second Duke, but she isn't very harmonious with the Grand Duke. The second Duke and the Grand Duke, on the other hand, are very competitive. The Grand Duke is very popular in the family, and the majority of the elders also support the Grand Duke. If there are no accidents, the Grand Duke will definitely take over the position of clan master. If young Miss, the consequences are unimaginable." Chu Yang nodded deeply, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a cold smile. Mo Qingwu didn't stay in her clan in her previous life. It seemed that something had happened because of this. For such a big clan, what kinship was there? Mo Qingwu had always been close to second brother, and her 3 meridian had unknowingly created power for her second brother. How could the Grand Duke not hold a grudge? Now that something had happened to her, wouldn't the Grand Duke be in the mood? Why would he help his sister? And once he gained power, how could Mo Qingwu have a good life? The third Duke of the Mo clan is called Mo Tianxing? Chu Yang raised his eyebrows. This name felt familiar to him. He couldn't help but ask, then what is the name of the Grand Duke in the clan now? When he asked this question, Chu Yang felt that his heart was thumping twice. Mo Tianyun. The man in black exhaled. He is the second son of the clan master. He is now the eldest and the first successor. What about the second Duke? Chu Yang asked anxiously. The second Duke is Mo Tianji. In the Mo clan, the Grand Duke is brave and good at fighting, and the second Duke is resourceful. This is publicly known. Don't you know? The man in black looked at Chu Yang strangely, and didn't understand his reaction. Moreover, since you know Mo Qingwu, why don't you know Mo Tianyun and Mo Tianji? Mo Tianji? Mo Tianji. Chu Yang's whole body shook and he muttered again. Tianji. Mo Tianji, a lifelong friend of his previous life, the young clan lord of the Mo clan, who had set up a deadly ambush in the upper 3 heavens and killed him on the spot, was actually Mo Qingwu's brother? He couldn't help but snort and say, so easy to be schemed against and fall into a trap. How can you be considered resourceful? Cough cough, the temptation of a monarch-level expert's remains. Little brother, what is your name? The black-clothed man suddenly slapped his forehead and said, I am sorry, my name is Mo Qingyu. My name is Chu Yang. Chu Yang was a little absent-minded. He was still immersed in the shock brought by the 3 words Mo Tianji. Chu Yang had never understood why Mo Tianji wanted to harm him. In his previous life, the 2 of them had drunk wine and chatted countless times. They had confided in each other countless times and they had talked through the night. It could be said that Mo Tianji had countless opportunities to kill him. But until then he had never revealed any of it. In fact, Chu Yang could feel that Mo Tianji sincerely wanted to be friends with him. They also sincerely appreciated each other. In the past 3 days, Mo Tianji had been the one who had helped him resolve the numerous crises he had faced. This was the only reason why Chu Yang didn't understand why Mo Tianji wanted to kill him. Today he finally knew the answer to the riddle. And it was for his younger sister Mo Qingwu. Revenge. He remembered the last time the 2 of them drank together until they were dead drunk. They talked about the impermanence of the world and sighed endlessly. Then, for some reason, they talked about the pain in each other's hearts and the things they regretted the most. Chu Yang's thoughts flashed like lightning. A scene from the past suddenly appeared in his mind. The thing I regret the most is my little sister. My favorite little sister. At that time, Mo Tianji had drunk a lot when he was talking. His face was full of tears. My little sister met a heartless man. She gave up everything for this man, but was heartlessly abandoned. She even died because of this man. I asked her many times who this man was when she was alive. But my little sister never told me. Mo Tianji's tears and murderous aura bloomed together. He fiercely gritted his teeth and said, if I knew who that man was, I would tear him to pieces. Even if he was the son of the overlord of upper 3 heavens, I would kill him. Even if I had to sacrifice the entire Mo clan, I would do it. My biggest regret is that I don't know who the man who killed my little sister is. Mo Tianji lowered his head and cried bitterly. Chu Yang was also drunk at that time. He couldn't help but ask, what's your little sister's name? My little sister's name. I never dare to mention it. Once I mention it, I'm heartbroken. Mo Tianji smiled bitterly. He leaned on the table and murmured, little sister, why didn't you wait until the day second brother took charge of the clan? Mo Tianji's words stirred up Chu Yang's thoughts. When he thought of Mo Qingwu, he also felt sad. Thus, he told him about his relationship with Mo Qingwu. He remembered that at that time he talked endlessly for the whole night. As for Emotianji, he started to stare at him when he was halfway through. His gaze seemed very strange, but he was immersed in his thoughts and didn't notice at all. The next day, Emotianji left without saying goodbye and disappeared without a trace. As for himself, he found Emotianji's sword in front of his door. The sword that he treasured like his life was broken in front of his door, broken into 2 pieces. From then on, he never saw Emotianji again. He always thought that something had happened to Emotianji. He even looked for him. But when he went to find the 5th fragment of the Calamity Sword, he was ambushed by Emotianji. Everything was clear now. So that's why. He left without saying goodbye and his sword was broken in 2. This was a sign of breaking all ties. Ambushing to kill him was to avenge his little sister. Even though he never mentioned Emo Qingwu's name with Emotianji's intelligence, how could he not know that he was the culprit who killed his little sister? Chuyang let out a long sigh. For a moment he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At this time, Emo Qingwu's small body on the bed moved. She let out a painful groan and slowly opened her eyes. She slowly turned her head and looked at the 2 of them. A pair of jet black, sparkling eyes that were as pure as water. Chuyang was almost lost in this pair of eyes at the first moment. Emo Qingwu frowned slightly as if she felt the pain in her body. When she saw Emo Qingyu next to her, she couldn't help but pout her small mouth and her eyes filled with tears. She was like a bullied little girl who suddenly saw her family. "Little miss, you're awake? How is your wound? Does it hurt?" Emo Qingyu quickly and carefully moved closer. His body was hidden from Chu Yang's line of sight. "Uncle Qingyu?" Emo Qingwu's tears dripped down as she pitifully said, "It hurts? Be good, don't cry. Uncle Chu is here. Don't let Uncle Chu see you like a joke." Emo Qingyu quickly comforted her. Seeing her like this, he couldn't help but feel heartache. "Little miss, this time it is all thanks to Uncle Chuyang." Chuyang stood to the side stunned. His whole body twitched and his face was full of black lines. "Uncle Chuyang? That's my wife." Chuyang almost wanted to stand up and raise his arms in anger. Emo Qingwu softly snorted and raised the back of her hand to wipe her tears. She looked at Chuyang and her small face blushed. She nodded and saluted. "This niece thanks Uncle Chuyang. Little Wu will never forget Uncle Chuyang's life-saving grace." Chuyang hurriedly shook his hand. He chuckled and said, it's nothing. This cough. I'm not much older than you. You can just call me elder brother Chuyang. Calling me uncle makes me sound old?" Emo Qingwu's delicate little face was startled. She raised her head and looked at Emo Qingyu with her big eyes. Emo Qingyu glared at her and said, "That won't do. You cannot mess with seniority. How can you call someone who should be called Uncle Chuyang brother? Absolutely not." Chu Yang's face suddenly became bitter. He looked at Emo Qingyu and frowned. He really wanted to drag this guy out and rape him. Earlier he thought he was a loyal and courageous man. Now why did he become so annoying? "Uncle Chuyang?" The little girl pouted, "I want to drink water." "Oh." Chu Yang's face was full of black lines, but he didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly brought the water over. It seems like I have to be this uncle for a few more days? Let me do it." Emo Qingyu's protectiveness was clearly too strong. He took the water from Chu Yang's hand and carefully fed Emo Qingwu. "Uncle Qingyu, when will my second brother come?" Emo Qingwu blinked her long eyelashes. Her small face was full of grievances. "I want second brother to beat up all those bad people." Second brother, will be here soon." Emo Qingyu was a bit embarrassed. Was Emo Tianji still at the bottom of the cliff? Or, was he also ambushed? How would he know when Emo Tianji would come? He gently helped Emo Qingwu lie down. It must have affected her wound. The little girl's eyebrows furrowed again. Chu Yang and Emo Qingyu's hearts twitched. Emo Qingyu held Emo Qingwu's small hand, and a stream of energy slowly entered her meridians to check her injuries. Suddenly his face changed. His tanned face turned as white as snow in a blink of an eye. His whole body trembled. Then he was dumbstruck. Suddenly he spat out a mouthful of blood and said in a heartbroken voice, How could this be?" He discovered the problem with Emo Qingwu's 3 meridian. Earlier, when he heard Chu Yang's probing, he already had an ominous feeling. However, his heart still held on to a sliver of hope. Now that he had confirmed this bad news, he felt as if the world was spinning. Uncle Qingyu, what's wrong?" Emo Qingwu cried out in panic. Uncle is fine. This is just some congested blood. After spitting it out, my chest feels much better." Mo Chengyu forced a smile and pretended to be relaxed. You should have a good sleep first. Once you wake up, everything will be fine. Okay. Mo Chengwu obediently closed her eyes. Then she opened them again and said shyly, Uncle Chengyu, you and Uncle Chuyang are here watching me. I can't sleep. Another Uncle Chuyang. Chuyang looked up at the sky and sighed. His heart was so tangled that he was about to suffer from internal injuries. Why can't you sleep? Mo Chengyu asked strangely, with Uncle here you can relax. Chapter 113. Ha ha. Mo Chengyu laughed. Little girl, you know how to be careful between men and women? Okay, I will talk outside with your Uncle Chuyang. Little lady, if you feel any discomfort, remember to call me. He turned his head to look at Chuyang. Brother Chu, why are we talking outside? Suddenly, he was startled as if he had just discovered a new continent. Brother Chu, why is your face so ugly? Chuyang weakly rolled his eyes. He thought in his heart, why is my complexion so ugly? Why is my face so ugly? My good wife was turned into your niece by you. The fact that I did not break down and commit suicide on the spot is already very good. Was Du Shiqing the one who cured the little miss? What did Du Shiqing say? Mo Chengyu frowned as he sat with Chuyang on the steps in front of the door. His heart was heavy. Ever since he found out that Mo Chengwu's 3E meridian was damaged, Mo Chengyu felt as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. His whole body was like a volcano on the verge of erupting, filled with the gloominess of a mountain storm. Senior Du said that even if all the great medicines in the world were gathered together, they would not be able to. Chuyang had a good impression of this king-level master who was loyal to his master. Therefore he did not hide anything and spoke frankly. Then he looked into Mo Chengyu's eyes. Senior Mo Chengwu's injury does not have a cure for now. If you let her go back to the clan, I am afraid she would not be able to bear it. How about staying here with me? Mo Chengyu's black eyebrows tightly knitted together. He sighed deeply and said, No. What? Chu Yang's eyes lit up and he became furious. Don't tell me that you want to take her back and let her suffer endless pain? You should know that her 3E meridian is damaged, so the clan's attitude will change immediately. You and I both know what kind of treatment a little brother without any value will receive. Pain is also a member of the Mo clan. Mo Chengyu sighed deeply. In a clan, the clan's interest is more important than anything else. You should know this. Even though you saved her life to the Mo clan, you are still a stranger. Mo Chengyu grunted. Even if we take her back and treat her worse than before, it is still better than leaving her in the hands of a stranger. Even if you are our savior, it is still the same. Moreover, with your current strength, you simply don't have the strength to protect her. If He Hui comes, do you think you can protect the little miss with your power? Mo Chengyu's cold words made Chuyang feel powerless. This was the truth. No matter what, the fact that he was weak was the cruel reality. Even if Chuyang had the power of a martial arts grandmaster, he was confident that he could contend with the black demon with the calamity sword. But right now he was only a martial warrior. He wasn't even a martial master. Once the black devil came, Mo Chengwu would definitely die. That would not be protecting her but harming her. But how could Chuyang bear to let Mo Chengwu go back and face the cold-heartedness of the Mo clan? Young Miss is still the family head's flesh and blood. Mo Chengyu casually said, even without the 3E meridian, she would still have a good life in the family. Do you believe what you just said? Chuyang coldly looked at him. You are a king-level master. If your cultivation was suddenly destroyed and you became an ordinary person, even if no one came to bully you, would you be able to handle it? But people have to face reality. Mo Chengyu lowered his voice and roared, do you think I don't care? When the little miss was born, her 3E meridian was determined. Then I was appointed to be her guide and guardian. From the time she was babbling until today, I watched her grow up like she was my own daughter. When he was injured, he could not wait to treat her with his own body. Do you understand this kind of feeling? I know that when she returns to the family, the little Miss's power will be taken away. She will not feel good, but only in the family can her life be saved. Anywhere else is not possible. If I cannot do it, you definitely cannot. Mo Chengyu's eyes became bloodshot as he glared at Chuyang. His suppressed emotions suddenly exploded. But I will not allow her to be bullied by you after she returns. Chuyang did not budge an inch. You won't allow it? What can you do? Mo Chengyu indifferently looked at him. Although his words were harsh, they were very serious and full of pain. Chuyang, you saved us and I am very grateful to you. That is why I am talking to you nicely. But you must know your own weight. The Mo clan is not something you can change, and it is not something I can change. What if I want to force you to stay? Chu Yang's pupils shrank as he asked. Right now, I am seriously injured. If you force me to stay, I can only stay here for now. But you must think about the consequences of forcing me to stay. Although I believe you do not have any evil intentions, if the Mo clan finds out, it will only bring you disaster. If the Mo clan finds out, they will also come to take you away. If the Yen clan finds out, they will also raise this place to the ground. Mo Qingyu snorted and said, You are a smart person, you will not make such a stupid decision. Chu Yang's head hurt. Forcing her to stay was just an impulse. He knew it was impossible. But he had finally met Mo Qingwu, and under these circumstances, how could he let her go back and suffer? Would he repeat the mistakes of his previous life? But if he did not let her go back. Mo Qingyu's words were not wrong. Although Chu Yang did not want to admit it, he did not have the ability to protect Mo Qingwu. If he let Mo Qingwu stay, it would only harm her and himself. Mo Qingyu coming to Iron Cloud Citadel to find Du Shiqing was not something that could be hidden from those who were interested. Even at this moment, the pursuers were probably already on the way. They could come here at any moment. This matter, we need to think about it at length. After thinking for a long time, Chu Yang decided to take a step back. Senior Mo, whether you stay or not, your injuries need to be healed as soon as possible. If the enemy chases you, you will have the power to fight. As for the other matters, we will wait for Mo Tianji to come here, then we can think about it at length. This was the best delaying tactic Chu Yang could think of. When he said the words Mo Tianji, Chu Yang's heart was filled with bitterness. He did not know how to describe the feeling in his heart. He could not help but secretly sigh. This is the only way. My injuries will not be healed in half a month. Mo Qingyu's voice was filled with sadness and disappointment. He was sad for himself and for Mo Qingwu. At the same time, he felt a deep sense of guilt and self-blame. His job was to protect the young miss, but the young miss was hurt so badly that she could never recover from it. All these emotions weighed down on him, causing his heart to almost collapse. He knew that Chu Yang's method was the best. He really needed to recover from his injuries. If he forced the young miss to leave while his injuries were not healed, he was afraid that the enemy would cut him into pieces along the way. I have medicine here. It was given to me by Senior Du Shiqing. You are a king-level martial artist, so you naturally know what medicine you need. If you do not have it here, you can ask me. Chu Yang said slowly. Good. Chu Yang paced 2 steps and said, But if you stay here, if the enemy comes, it will be troublesome. It would be better to go to the secret underground room and wait until your injuries are almost healed before coming out. He smiled and said, As you said, if the Mo army comes, I will not be able to stop them. Please do not blame me for being too careful. The secret underground room was specially arranged by Chu Yang. Moreover, it was very deep. This was to prepare for the second part of the sword. The location of the secret room was right above the second part of the sword. According to Chu Yang's estimation, he would only need to dig another 20 feet to get the second part of the sword. At this moment, it had become a shelter. This is a safe method. I'm not so pedantic. Mo Qingyu sighed in his heart. If Mo Qingwu was not by his side as a king-level martial artist, he would rather die in battle than hide like a rat in a hole. But now there was nothing he could do. Wait a moment, I will arrange it. There were no servants on the island where the Heavenly Armament Pavilion was located, so Chu Yang had to do it himself. He made the bed and lit the oil lamp. All kinds of animal fur and cotton blankets were spread out as if they were free. After half an hour, 2 rooms were made. Mo Qingwu's room had been made cozy and warm by Chu Yang. Moreover, the 4 walls had been tightly covered with snow-white cloth. He had even prepared a fragrance at the head of the bed, making the entire room fragrant. TSK. Of course, Mo Qingyu's room paled in comparison. He only threw the things inside and said to Mo Qingyu, You can do it yourself. As long as it can sleep. Mo Qingyu was so angry that he almost choked. While Chu Yang was busy, Mo Qingyu's eyes were fixed on Chu Yang. He felt that this young man was full of mysteries. Who is he? Why does he know the young miss? Moreover, it seems that he cares for the young miss to the point of being meticulous. His martial power is not high either. I know all the young talents of the clans in the 3 heavens. Even if I have not seen them, I have heard people describe them. There is no such person among them. How strange. But since Chu Yang did not want to talk about these things, he naturally would not ask. At least the other party did not have any evil intentions. This was absolutely true. After everything was ready, Chu Yang picked up the sleeping Mo Qingwu and slowly walked down. When Chu Yang reached out to pick up Emo Qingwu, Emo Qingyu also reached out, but Chu Yang gave him a sharp stare. Emo Qingyu was a king-level master, but this stare made him unconsciously shiver. Then Chu Yang said, "You are so heavily injured, what if you fall and hurt her?" Emo Qingyu was defeated, so he could only follow behind Chu Yang. Looking at Emo Qingwu sleeping soundly in the secret room, Chu Yang rubbed his hands and said, "Senior Emo, I want to discuss something with you." "What is it?" Emo Qingyu was depressed. Why is Zhou Kai scared after being glared at by this little guy? Damn. This old man is a king-level master. What is this little guy's level? Why am I scared of him? What the hell? Chapter 114. Wait until she wakes up. Can we change the way we address each other? Chu Yang scratched his head in embarrassment. His face also turned red for the first time. You see, I'm only 10 years old this year. In fact, I haven't even celebrated my birthday yet. But I'm already an uncle. This is too much. You are only 10 years old? Emo Qingyu was stunned. This guy seems to have power and influence. Plus, he does things according to the rules. His mind is very meticulous. Aside from being a little impulsive when it comes to the little miss, everything else is well thought out. Yet he is only 10 years old? Yes. Chu Yang chuckled. He did not ask about shoes. Emo Qingyu happily agreed. He had thought about it and felt that it was inappropriate for Emo Qingwu to call Chu Yang uncle. Pu Qingwu was only 10 years old. Calling him uncle was not a problem. But when Emo Tianji and Emo Tianyun arrived, they were much older than Chu Yang. They were Emo Qingwu's blood brother and sister. They were of the same generation, plus Chu Yang was so nice to the little miss. Calling him uncle or brother would be the same. He cared so much about this title. It seemed like he really liked the little miss. The little miss was smart. Everyone loved her. No wonder Chu Yang liked her so much. At this moment, Emo Qingyu's heart was filled with pride. Of course, Emo Qingyu would never have thought that Chu Yang would be so beastly as to have feelings for an 8-year-old girl. This was simply impossible. No matter who it was seeing an 8-year-old girl, no one would be so beastly as to have such thoughts, right? But Chu Yang just had to do it, because this was not someone else. This was Emo Qingwu. Chu Yang stood under the night sky. He did not sleep at all. Tonight he did not practice martial arts for the first time. One moment he smiled, the next he frowned, and the next he sighed. I finally met her, but I got hurt, and she is still so young. King of Hell Chu was a little troubled. Oh my God, when will she grow up? How can I control this? Being overly protective would create a feeling of being an elder, and that would be counterproductive. Girls at this age were at their most malleable. If they were to be left with the impression of being an uncle, with a deep-rooted motive, then everything would be for naught. If he was too distant from her, it would cause her to dislike him. What if she hated him from a young age? That would be even harder to deal with. Moreover, how should Emo Qingwu's injury be treated? Thinking of this, Chu Yang's heart was in a mess. Her injury is curable. Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, the voice in his consciousness suddenly appeared. Can the tribulation sword be cured? Chu Yang was overjoyed like a drowning man who had suddenly grabbed onto a life-saving straw. That's right. Xiao Hun seemed to sigh as well. Looks like this guy's inner demons are really stubborn. Emo Qingwu is only a year old and this guy is actually lovesick. And he's actually not practicing martial arts. That wouldn't do. Don't forget that tribulation's carvings have the effect of purifying medicinal power. Moreover, the core essence of the medicine has been cut off by tribulation. That is the real life-saving thing. Xiao Hun said helplessly, look at your dantan at the sword hilt. Chu Yang was overjoyed. He calmed his mind and checked. In his dantan, at the illusory transparent sword hilt, there was half a drop of something dark inside. This is it? Yes, this is it. As long as it becomes a drop, I can take it out and heal Emo Qingwu's injury. Xiao Hun said, but there is one thing that needs to be done first. Just accumulating medicinal power alone won't achieve this goal. You have to get the second fragment of tribulation before you can gather enough medicinal power for this drop of heavy pill. You can take it out. I will gather enough medicinal power in the shortest time at all costs, and advance to the second fragment of tribulation. Chu Yang's eyes focused as he said quietly, let's hope so. But I have to remind you, within a year, I'm afraid you won't be able to meet this requirement. Xiao Hun reminded him. If you forcibly take out the heavy pill before it reaches that level, not only will it not be beneficial, it will also be harmful. Xiao Hun sighed and said, originally I could have hastened its ripening, but what? I almost forgot, you are Tribulation Sword Xiaohan. Of course you can do it. Chu Yang said happily, hastening the ripening process. Wouldn't everything be fine? You idiot. Xiaohan was depressed. You didn't realize that I exist in your consciousness, but tribulation is in your dantian? I have not become one with him, how can I hasten its ripening? Moreover, during this time, you only got so many medicinal materials from tribulation. Tribulation has already absorbed all of them. Even with the materials from beyond the heavens sect, there is less than half a pill. How can it be easy to gather enough? Plus, what you have in Ironcloud Citadel are all ordinary herbs. With these, even if you absorb 100 times more, it will not become a heavy pill. Xiaohan poured a bucket of cold water on Chu Yang. As long as there is hope, I will try my best to get it. If these herbs are not enough, then I will go look for other treasures. Whether it is stealing, robbing, or cheating, I will get it. Chu Yang said fiercely, even if I have to rob all of the great clans in heaven, I will get this heavy pill. You have guts. Xiaohan said with either admiration or speechlessness. Then he disappeared without a trace. Now this little guy should have enough motivation and pressure, right? With his current martial warrior cultivation, he actually wanted to rob all of the great clans in heaven. If this was not praise, then there was nothing else to say. Xiaohan was very proud after he disappeared. Chu Yang sank into a deep state of meditation. There was never a moment when he was so eager to increase his strength. Jianghu is in danger. I have to protect her. The next morning, Chu Yang looked around the heavenly armament pavilion at flowing rich lake. Then he gave Mo Qingyu some advice. Looking at Mo Qingwu's apple-like face, Chu Yang reluctantly left. When he arrived at Butian Pavilion, he saw Chang'ang sitting there with a frown on his face. Seeing Chu Yang with a ferocious mask, he could not help but jump in fright. He stood up with a guilty conscience. Last night, the operation did not go well? Chu Yang snorted. He suddenly felt that this old man was not pleasing to the eye. He was already in a bad mood. Early in the morning, what awaited him was news of a failed operation. Looking at this old man's widowed expression, Chu Yang knew for sure, I didn't catch anything last night. Yes. Last night, we disguised ourselves and entered the Tang mansion. But we found that Tang Xian Sheng had already disappeared. His wife was at home, but in order to avoid alerting the enemy, we only set up surveillance cameras and did not disturb them. Chang'ang said carefully. Strangely enough, Chang'ang was a revered martial artist. His cultivation was much higher than Chu Yang's, but when Chu Yang glared at him, Chang'ang felt his legs tremble. Tang Xian Sheng is gone, but Old Basket is still here? Behind the mask, Chu Yang grinned. This guy is really ruthless. In order to set up a trap, he actually used his own wife as bait. I don't know if he's really an old man or if he's just pretending, but it's not like we didn't get anything out of it. When the sky was just beginning to brighten, Boss faintly heard Jin Xiao's voice. It turned out that an invisible flying insect had flown into the Tang family. I caught it. Chang'ang was a little proud. He took out a bird from his bosom as if he was presenting a treasure. After all, the formless mound came and went without a trace. It was extremely difficult to catch one. Not to mention a revered martial artist, even a martial king would not be able to catch up to its speed, let alone see through its disguise. However, Chang'ang was a lucky bastard. He did not catch Tang Xian Sheng. He knew that when he returned, he would definitely be scolded by King of Hell Chu. Therefore he persevered and waited there. Just as dawn was about to break in the east, the invisible falcon had coincidentally flown over thousands of miles and arrived here. It was the most tiring time and the time was just right. It was already dawn, but the invisible falcon was still in the middle of the night. How could it not attract people's attention? Therefore Chang'ang was able to catch it in one fell swoop. Not bad. It must have been hard for you to bring a net with you, Chu Yang said in a sarcastic tone. It was hard to tell whether he was praising or winking. Chang'ang's old face turned red. He was a little embarrassed. Because Chang'ang liked to eat good food, he especially liked to eat the meat of birds. From eagles to sparrows, everything was delicious to Chang'ang. Therefore he always carried a small net with him. The harder it was to catch a bird, the more delicious it was to Chang'ang. Even at Butian Pavilion, as long as Chang'ang was present, there would be an extra dish on the table. This guy was so greedy that he would not even let a bat go. This was purely a blind cat catching a dead end, and that formless nose just so coincidentally fell into his hands. It really was the heavenly sect. It was so coincidental that it was unbelievable. Chu Yang removed a small bamboo tube from the invisible falcon's feather. He poured out a small dragon ball and sealed it tightly. He pinched the dragon ball with his finger and a small crack appeared on it. A ball of paper rolled out. He carefully opened it and flattened it. On it was written, "Dangerous." Only these 2 words were scribbled, but they were written with strong strokes and silver hooks. Although the handwriting was scribbled, it contained a sense of majesty. It was steady and agile. The signature was a faint seal. The 2 words Diwu could be faintly seen. It was written by Diwu Qingro himself. Chu Yang's words made Qing Yang's spirit rise. It seems that I still underestimated Tang Xian Sheng. This is a big fish that I have never seen before. Chu Yang's face was heavy. He carefully put the note Diwu Qingro wrote into his bosom. Diwu Qingro's Golden Horse Riders department had countless people who had important information, but he personally wrote a letter for Tang Xian Sheng. How could Chu Yang not know the meaning behind this? Tang Xian Sheng's importance could be imagined. Chapter 115. What we need to pay attention to now is not to alert the enemy. People like Tang Xian Sheng have countless ways to escape from Iron Cloud Citadel. Chu Yang pondered, plus this Tang Xian Cha, is he really just a simple scholar? Does he have a peerless martial art? That is hard to say. We need to inform Heavenly Secret Hall about this and carefully investigate. I miss so much. Wu Qianqian sucked in a breath of cold air. Chu Yang's analysis included countermeasures and counterattacks. From Diwu Qingro to Tang Xian Sheng, he analyzed everything. Wu Qianqian suddenly felt that if Chu Yang really captured Tang Xian Sheng, Diwu Qingro would suffer a great loss. Of course, that was if Chu Yang's speculation was correct. However, Chu Yang's analysis also missed one thing. Wu Qianqian was sensitive enough to find out, "Chu Yang, you said so much but you did not say, if the enemy's king-level master really came, how would you deal with him? How would we stop him? How would we arrange things?" Chu Yang rubbed his temples and frowned. "This is the only thing I am worried about. We do not have a king-level master. Facing a king-level master, we have no good way to deal with him." Chu Yang sighed. "We definitely have one on Tai's side. Otherwise, Diwu Qingro would not let go of the chance to easily assassinate Tai. However, as long as he comes to protect me, Tai's side will be in danger. We cannot take this risk." Wu Qianqian's beautiful face turned pale. "Is there really no way?" Chu Yang's gaze was profound as he slowly said, "I only hope that he doesn't come so quickly." Then he shook his head and said, "But judging from Diwu Qingro's swift and decisive style, this person is probably already on the way." Wu Qianqian suddenly felt her heart sink. She looked at Chu Yang's eyes with tears in them. She knew that Chu Yang was only a martial warrior. In the face of an assassination by a king-level master, he would not have the slightest ability to fight back. The current Butian pavilion in front of the opponent's king-level expert was practically nothing. Chu Yang smiled bitterly in his heart. If things were really as he guessed, then he really didn't have anyone protecting him. Gu Duxing had gone out to recruit soldiers, and it was not certain when he would return. Mo Qingyu was seriously injured and it would take a while for him to recover. Plus, even if he had the strength to fight, he would have to guard against He and I. As for a revered saber master like Qingong, Chu Yang reckoned that Qingong would be nothing more than food in front of a king-level expert. If Black Devil and Golden Horse Riders department's experts were to find this place together, then there would be more than 3 king-level experts coming to cause trouble for him. Even in his previous life, he would not have been able to withstand such a lineup, let alone now that he was a martial warrior. Moreover, besides Diwu Qingro and He Mo, there was also the possibility of the Yen clan. This matter was really quite serious. Chu Yang closed his eyes and pondered. He wanted to find a way out of this mess, to avoid or resolve this crisis. These are just our guesses. Maybe a king-level expert won't come. Wu Qianqian said weakly. Impossible. If we can think of this, how can Diwu Qingro not think of this? You have to know that with Diwu Qingro's deep foresight, he can only think further than us. He will not miss anything. Chu Yang said softly. Meticulous planning. Diwu Qingro was worthy of these words. Even the current Mo Tianji was still a child. He was far from reaching the level of the master of calculation and manipulation. But Diwu Qingro had been immersed in this realm for many years. How could he not think of this? Chu Zai thought quietly, and his brows furrowed together unconsciously. For a long time he could not figure out anything. If it was purely about intelligence, even if Chu Yang was not as good as Diwu Qingro, he would not be so helpless. But in the face of such absolute martial strength, he really could not think of a way. Hiding was not something that could be avoided. Tai Butian's side could not protect him. According to Chu Yang's estimation, Even if Tai Butian had experts by his side, there would not be many. At most, one or two. If they came to protect him, the city gate would be empty. Tai Longcheng's side should also have experts. But he could not count on them. Butian Pavilion's strength was not enough. His only hope now was the Mo clan's side. But the ruthlessness of the Mo clan was something that Chu Yang deeply experienced. They might not help him just because he saved Mo Qingwu. Moreover, Mo Tianji was among the people who had come from the Mo clan. Chu Yang's feelings towards Mo Tianji were very complicated. But one thing was for sure. Even if Mo Tianji wanted to protect him because he saved his sister, Chu Yang would still refuse. This was related to a man's self-esteem. Chu Yang would not accept Mo Tianji's protection. Chu Yang's only advantage was that he had been deliberately creating a diversion during this period of time. As a result, not many people knew about his true appearance. Perhaps, this was the only advantage he could take advantage of when facing the assassination of a king-level master. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. Chu Yang could not figure it out, so he simply did not think about it. He stood up and said, "So what if it is a king-level master? He might not necessarily not die." With Calamity Sword in hand, as long as he could get close and have the opportunity to attack, he might be able to kill a king-level master. By the way, Chu Yang, the sect tournament of Beyond the Heavens sect has ended. Do you want to know the result? Wu Qianqian tried hard to make Chu Yang relax. Oh, how about Tan Tan? Chu Yang's mind turned. Thinking about what Wu Qianqian said, he suddenly felt that the words Beyond the Heavens sect were so distant. Master, junior martial brother. This time's tournament was very cruel. Wu Qianqian said, a few martial uncle's disciples were killed or injured. Tan Tan did not participate. The people who died were mostly second martial uncle, fourth martial uncle, and martial uncle's disciples, right? Chu Yang smiled. How did you know? Wu Qianqian opened her black eyes wide. How could I not know? Chu Yang smiled bitterly. The traitor of Beyond the Heavens sect was most likely these three people. Li Jinsong had already been determined. The other two were the biggest suspects. The rewards for this tournament were much more generous than the previous ones. Wu Qianqian blinked her eyes in envy. When I first heard about it, I almost ran back to participate in the tournament. Chu Yang snickered. First, he threw out the temptation of great rewards. Then he promised the position of the sect to lure the disciples to kill each other. With Wu Yunliang's skill, it was not difficult to do this. It seemed that Miao Yunliang had already started to clean up Beyond the Heavens sect. Tan Tan did not participate because he wanted to protect Miao Yunliang. When the sect was almost cleaned up, Miao Yunliang would come to Iron Cloud. At that time, it would be the beginning of the biggest trap. It would also be the biggest crisis for Beyond the Heavens sect. Hopefully, it would be delayed a little bit. Chu Yang thought to himself. In the near future, he really did not have the slightest confidence. I will go and capture Tang X and Sheng first. Chu Yang sighed and walked out of the door. He was frowning a moment ago. But, the moment he let go of the load on his mind, he became relaxed. Only Wu Qianqian was frowning in her room. She was thinking hard. How to help Chu Yang escape this disaster. Thinking that Chu Yang might die, Wu Qianqian's heart ached. Why Chu Yang was expelled from the sect, she did not know. Why he came to Iron Cloud after being expelled, she also did not know. But she knew that Chu Yang would not abandon Beyond the Heavens sect. Chu Yang having such a position in Iron Cloud was the best thing for Beyond the Heavens sect. Chu Yang could not die. Perhaps there were other thoughts in her mind. Wu Qianqian did not know what she was thinking or why she was so anxious. She was only thinking hard. Her eyes kept moving. Finally, Wu Qianqian's gaze fell on Chu Yang's room. It was the ferocious mask and the black robe that Chu Yang wore. She did not move for a long time. When Chu Yang came out, he had already returned to his normal chalky appearance. He swaggered through the streets. Tang X and Sheng lived in Iron Cloud Citadel. It was a very inconspicuous official's residence. From the outside, it looked no different from an ordinary residence. One would not be able to tell that it was the residence of a court official. There was only a big red plaque at the entrance with the two words, Tang Residence, written on it. It showed that the person in this courtyard was not an ordinary person. It was a big house with 3 rooms. It was located next to the residence. The entrance was a north and south heaven road. From the entrance, there was a 3-way intersection. Normally, officials would not choose a place like this because it was noisy. First, it was messy and everyone liked peace and quiet. Second, it was dangerous. On the street to the right of the house, there were a few other residences of officials. They were not close to each other. If one were to look at the residences of the officials, then Tang Xansheng's Tang mansion was basically all alone. Behind the house there was a forest that extended out. Chu Yang looked at the structure and location of the house and could not help but sigh. This house was clearly intentional. It was easy to escape, easy to do things in private, and easy to communicate with outsiders. However, the residences of officials were usually given by the court. What method did Tang Xansheng use to get here? At the three-way intersection, an old man dressed in rags was setting up a small stall with a few pounds of melons on it. Under a big tree not far from him, two old men were focused on playing chess. It was as if they did not care about the hustle and bustle of the city. Chu Yang slowly walked over. He grabbed a handful of melons and tossed them up and down. His expression and movements were full of frivolity. He tilted his eyebrows and squinted his eyes as he asked, "Old man, do these melons have kernels?" The old man hurriedly nodded and bowed. "Sir, how can you sell them if they don't have kernels? Wouldn't that make me a scammer?" "Look, this one is empty." Chu Yang reached out and squeezed. With a pop, he squeezed open a melon. "It's just that the kernels are a bit small, ha." The old man laughed awkwardly and said, "Sir, you can choose a watermelon. This one is really big. Sir, try squeezing it. This white melon is not big yet, cough cough." "Oh?" Chu Yang grabbed a handful and threw down a few copper coins. This old man was Chang'an in disguise. Earlier, Chu Yang asked him about his recent situation. The melon is empty. This was the secret code. You can try squeezing a watermelon. In other words, you can go to the house on the west side, but you can't guarantee anything. Chapter 116. Ever since Chu Yang came here, he had been thinking about it. Chang'an's reply added to the doubts in his heart. Watermelon? It shouldn't be. Looking at the complicated terrain, Chu Yang could not help but ask himself, if I were Tang Xansheng, what would I do? How would I hide? With this, Chu Yang began to put himself in Tang Xansheng's shoes, and slowly began to expand. The situation is not obvious. Butian Pavilion has not made a move on me yet. I am just preparing for a rainy day. I will hide and observe the situation. If it is not good, I will immediately leave. If it is not bad, I will come back and tell others that I went to visit a friend. This should be Tang Xansheng's mentality. Then Tang Xansheng must be nearby. He must be paying attention to Tang Manor's movements. The roads here extend in all directions. If he wanted to pay attention to Tang Manor's movements, where would I choose? Chu Yang pondered. Chang'an didn't choose the best position in order to deceive others. It must be known that the best position was often the best position to be monitored. There would always be people watching. Instead, he chose the worst position. If Chang'an did not choose, then with Tang Xansheng's wisdom, he would not choose either. Then he would choose a less important position. And now, Chang'an was occupying a position that was slightly inferior to the others. Chu Yang's eyes swept around indifferently, and found several positions in the vicinity that were most suitable for monitoring the Tang mansion. Since the first two positions were not suitable, then the third position would be. Chu Yang's eyes looked at the two old men playing chess under the tree. Both of them had white hair. They looked like they were more than 10 years old. Their faces were full of wrinkles and they looked very old. Both of them were focused on the chessboard. One of them was facing Chu Yang with a relaxed face. He was leisurely waving his fan. The other one had his head down. His face was full of deep thought. It seemed like he was thinking hard about his opponent's moves. These two old men are very refined. They are so old, yet they are still sitting so steadily. Chu Yang's heart was moved. He gave Chang'an a secret look. Two old brothers, you must be tired from playing chess. Eat some melons, ha. Chang'an staggered over with a humble smile on his face. He put down a handful of melons by the chessboard and said enviously, "You two are so lucky. You can play chess for 2 days straight and don't have to worry about anything else. Unlike me, this old man who still has to run around for a living." The old man with a relaxed expression smiled and said, "Your brother is also very fortunate. Isn't being healthy the greatest blessing?" Although his voice was old, it was still very elegant. Chang'an nodded repeatedly and retreated with a hunched back. Playing chess for 2 consecutive days. A mysterious light flashed in Chu Yang's eyes as he came to a conclusion. After looking at the tree for a while, he wobbled his way to the two old men who were playing chess and bent over to look at the chessboard. This game is not easy to break. Chu Yang clicked his tongue repeatedly. Wonderful. How wonderful. The old man who was deep in thought immediately turned around and glared at him. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you know how to play chess? It was as if the anger of being suppressed in the chess game was all vented on this little brat who did not know what was good for him. Ah, look here. You can't dig, you can't jump, and you can't space. It's sharp and it's sharp and it's broken. This seems like a good move, but it also has the danger of being completely wiped out. It's really not easy to deal with. Chu Yang opened a folding fan with a schwa sound. Then he closed it again with a schwa sound. The folding fan had already touched the chessboard. Chu Yang's words made Qing Ang's whole body tremble. He did not know anything about chess, but Chu Yang's words clearly had a different meaning. Digging is not allowed, jumping is not allowed, space is not allowed, break is not allowed. Fuck, isn't this referring to Tang Xiansheng's current situation? Could it be that after 2 days of squatting here, the biggest target is sitting right behind my butt? Thinking about this, Hall Master Cheng almost wanted to stuff his head into his pants. He swore to capture someone, and the person was sitting right behind my butt for 2 days without me noticing. This is a joke. Oh? In your opinion? Young man, what do you think should be done? The relaxed old man looked at Chu Yang and asked with a smile. In my humble opinion, this move should be flying. Chu Yang opened his fan with a swish and slowly fanned himself twice. He said meaningfully, flying too slow is also not good. What do you think? Official Tang? Once Chu Yang said this, the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. In front of him, the old man whose back was facing him suddenly stiffened. Qing, who was behind him, suddenly stood up and turned his head. He looked at the old man who had been looking at his back in disbelief. His face was as red as blood. This is so embarrassing. This is so infuriating. I actually made the mistake of being in the dark. The old man's expression did not change. He looked at Chu Yang and slowly said, Flying? That's one way. But, little friend, what you've said is very profound. I also feel that it is very profound. I still don't dare to believe it. Chu Yang whispered with a smile, I have heard of this saying before, but I do not understand it. You can wear out iron shoes in vain, but you find it without any effort. Today I finally understand. Lord Tang, I wonder if you understand what I'm saying? The old man's eyes flashed with a smile. I still don't understand. Why do you call me Official Tang so confidently? Looking up at the mountains and rivers, the sky is endless. Chu Yang said casually, looking down at the yellow earth of reincarnation. These 2 sentences were written by Tang Xiansheng on a certain year when an important official of Iron Cloud, Tai Hun, died on the battlefield. Reading them out at this time had a special meaning. It also dispelled Tang Xiansheng's thoughts of denying it. I have already seen through your disguise. If you continue to deny it, it will be a joke. Tang Xiansheng smiled warmly. Little brother, your memory is very good. You flatter me. Chu Yang cupped his fists and smiled. I presume little brother is the legendary master of Butian Pavilion, King of Helchu? Tang Xiansheng's smile was very gentle. His eyes were also very gentle. There was no trace of panic. But as soon as he said this, the other old man's face suddenly showed a look of despair. It is King of Helchu. This was the fiercest man in Iron Cloud who was infamous for his ferocity. I don't dare. That is a vulgar nickname. It is an insult to Official Tang. Chu Yang said humbly. I did not expect that the infamous King of Helchu who slaughtered Iron Cloud with one sword would be so young and handsome. Tang Xiansheng smiled gently and said in a clear voice, However, I really don't understand. How did you find me? How can you be so sure that I am here? I was not sure. It was just luck. Chu Yang calmly said, My method may be useless against ordinary slow-witted people. But Official Tang is a smart person among smart people. I came here to test you out of luck. But after coming here, I was sure that it was you. Tang Xiansheng looked at him with a curious expression. A place like this is the easiest place to spy on Tang Manor. Other places are easier to see, but they are too big of a target. Official Tang has a big tree in front of your door like an umbrella. There have always been people playing chess here. I presume Official Tang already arranged this. And if you appear here one day in disguise, no one will notice. Chu Yang smiled slightly. Not bad. Tang Xiansheng also showed an appreciative smile. His eyes gradually became sharp. Official Tang is not sure if I will make a move on you. This is the best place to watch. Even if it is dangerous, you can wait here for people to come to your aid. Plus, no matter what happens in the manor, as long as you are not exposed, you will be able to see it. Official Tang is calm and resourceful. You know better than anyone that it is dark under the light. I presume that if Official Tang can find a way to hide in Butian Pavilion, that would be the best place to hide. Chu Yang smiled gently. I came here today to invite Official Tang to the best place to hide. Tang Xansheng shook his head and smiled. He sighed, not bad, not bad. King of Helchu is indeed worthy of being called King of Helchu. He paused for a moment. Then he squinted his eyes and smiled, but why don't you make a move immediately? Why are you talking nonsense with me? You should know that the more you talk, the more likely you are to make mistakes. You are the famous King of Helchu. Don't tell me you don't even know this? Tang Xansheng's pupils suddenly shrank and shot out a needle-like brilliance. Because there was an accident. Chu Yang smiled calmly. More importantly, I did not expect official Tang to be a top martial artist. If I made a move, I would not have been confident. Official Tang did not make a move because he was angry. Chu Yang laughed mischievously. A scheme that I thought I was so proud of was seen through. Moreover, my identity that I thought was the most secretive was also dug out. For a person with unparalleled intelligence, this is undoubtedly a disgrace. Even if I die, it would not be as humiliating as official Tang right now. So official Tang was playing with me. A mocking look appeared in Chu Yang's eyes. Official Tang wants to humiliate me when I'm at my proudest moment after I expose you, and then use your peerless martial arts to break out of the encirclement and escape. Or you could just kill me right here. Chu Yang said indifferently, Official Tang, this is your mentality. I wonder if I'm wrong? Yes. Tang Xansheng slowly stood up and said, I worked hard for 13 years, but you destroyed it in one day. And you found me. If I do not kill you, how can I forget about this hatred? He coldly snorted, and your so-called Butian Pavilion in my eyes is only a few toys. Since you do not have the ability to catch me, you can only wait for me to humiliate you. Chu Yang's guess was not wrong. The truth was exactly what he planned for the worst. This Tang Xansheng was a martial artist. Moreover, he did not put Chang'an in his eyes. He wanted to ambush Chu Yang. Chu Yang wanted to catch him and he wanted to kill Chu Yang. Chapter 117. That's why I am waiting. Moreover, I want to have a good chat with official Tang. Chu Yang smiled and gently fanned himself with his folding fan. It seemed as if he was very nervous from the beginning to the end. But he had to maintain his composure. He kept fanning himself. I'm not delaying. I'm sincerely asking for your guidance. Chu Yang was not delaying, but at this moment, many people in black appeared around them. They were Lai Yang's subordinates from Butian Pavilion. They were coming from more than 100 feet away. Coupled with his words, it made people feel like they were lying in front of their faces. You think you can stop me with just these people? Tang Xansheng laughed softly and said, Minister Chu, your precious body is too close to me. Yes, I am also very helpless. Chu Yang helplessly waved his fan, but if I am not close enough, official Tang will not be able to smell the crisp bone powder on this fan. Crisp bone powder? Tang Xansheng's face changed. What is this? Ever since his identity was exposed, this was the first time Tang Xansheng showed a look of fear. Crisp bone powder? This is just a small gift for official Tang since we first met. The value is meager, it is not enough to show my respect. I hope official Tang will not take offense. Official Tang may not have noticed, but ever since I came here, I have been standing in the wind. The wind is blowing from behind me to in front of me. Chu Yang smiled and patiently explained, every time I wave my fan the wind is a little weak. If the wind is strong it will blow away. He squinted his eyes and smiled, official Tang is very knowledgeable. Naturally, you know that the wind is not fixed and the water is not constant. Even in one moment and the next moment the wind is not the same. Therefore, I am here to bathe in the cool summer wind and have a long talk with official Tang. Naturally, the longer the better. The longer it is, the more time official Tang will have to enjoy this crisp bone powder. Chu Yang gently said, I hope official Tang will not blame me for talking too much. In fact, I am usually a very quiet person. Tang Xansheng's eyes flashed fiercely. He shook both of his arms. A gust of wind came out of his body, shaking off the dust on his robe. However, after this shock, his expression changed drastically. What exactly is this bone-softening powder? Tang Xansheng was shocked to find that the energy in his body had begun to dissipate. Moreover, the rate of dissipation was getting faster and faster. The crisp bone powder is colorless and tasteless, but it is a wonderful powder. Chu Yang continued to fan lightly. When you smell it, your whole body will be powerless and your vital energy will dissipate. The more you circulate your martial power to resist, the faster it will dissipate. Of course, this kind of light powder is not very effective for an expert like official Tang. But for the person in front of me, it is very deadly. Oh, just like this. Chu Yang smiled and slowly reached out his hand. He gently grabbed the hair of the old man in front of him and slowly lifted him up. His right hand touched his waist and a shiny dagger appeared in his hand. Chu Yang looked at Tang Xansheng and smiled. He's dead. His death was inexplicable and light. Truly peaceful. As he said this, his right hand exerted force and the dagger pierced the old man's throat. Blood gushed out crazily in Tang Xansheng's direction. Chu Yang looked at Tang Xansheng and did not move. He spun the dagger in his hand and kicked out. A headless corpse flew out. Chu Yang's hand now had a head with white hair. The eyes of despair were wide open and full of disbelief. It is really bloody. Chu Yang casually threw the head forward and smiled. Look, Official Tang, your first bodyguard should also be a martial great master, right? His death was really too kind. This old man was caught by Chu Yang and easily killed. From beginning to end, he did not even make the slightest movement to resist. Even killing a chicken would not be so easy. How did you do it? Tang Xansheng caught the head of his bodyguard and looked at Chu Yang with grief and indignation. He could not believe that his right-hand man was killed without any resistance. This crisp bone ecstasy powder was very overbearing, but it was not overbearing to the point where a martial great master did not have the strength to resist. When I came over, I was standing right behind him. Chu Yang said, and at that time your vigilance was at its highest, but you didn't dare to act rashly. The moment the crisp bone ecstasy powder came out, it was right next to him and most of it was absorbed by him. And the moment I exposed your identity, he began to circulate his martial energy. Aha, Lord Tang, I just said that the more you circulate your martial energy, the faster it dissipates. Why didn't he resist? Tang Xansheng suddenly realized and wanted to slap himself. At that time he was talking to Chu Yang and was filled with the pleasure of having this king of hell Chu in the palm of his hand. How could he dare to interrupt him? In addition, when he had no choice but to make a move, I carefully released a trace of murderous aura. Chu Yang said with shame, my cultivation was not high, so my murderous aura was not strong. I could only make him fully alert. Plus, I was right behind him so he did not dare to look back. If he did, I would make the first move. So he could only circulate his martial energy and continue to be on guard. So Of course, this wasn't the real situation. Instead, when the guard couldn't hold on any longer and was about to attack, Chu Yang moved the sword point to the finger of his left hand and easily stabbed it into the guard's heart from behind. The bodyguard died on the spot, but his body was held up by Chu Yang's knee so he could not fall. King of Hell Chu. Even if my martial power is starting to dissipate, I will still kill you. Tang Xansheng roared and suddenly leaped into the air. Chang'an was startled and immediately rushed forward. He was ready to fight. However, in the next moment, the most unbelievable thing happened. Tang Xansheng's body suddenly trembled in the air. His face showed extreme pain and fear as he screamed, "This? How could this be?" Before he could finish his words, he fell down like a bird with broken wings. The chessboard and table were smashed into pieces. Countless black and white pieces splashed out. Just a moment ago, Tang Xansheng had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He had a card up his sleeve and was filled with the demeanor of a master. However, at this moment, he was thrown into confusion and was battered and exhausted. Official Tang, I'm really sorry. I forgot to tell you that this crisp bone powder can't touch blood. If you haven't broken through the realm of a king-level expert and can't form the real Yuan consolidation disc, you will lose all your strength the moment you come into contact with the smell of blood, even if you have heaven-defying skills. I was afraid that Official Tang did not absorb enough, so I threw you a human head to disperse the blood. And Official Tang really loved your old servant and caught it. This is a bit too close. Chu Yang said apologetically, this is my fault. I didn't explain it clearly to the wise and far-sighted Official Tang. He smiled and said, however, this is the power of wisdom. Official Tang used to use it often. And I found you, because of this reason. If an ordinary person smelled this crisp bone powder, they would immediately fall down. But the two of you didn't even sway a bit. You're really experts. However, such experts shouldn't be playing chess here. Moreover, Lord Tang was too calm when he opened his mouth. So, Lord Tang must have been waiting for me here and deliberately let me find out. Chu Yang's words solved Tang Xansheng's and Chang'an's doubts. So that's how it is. Tang Xansheng struggled to lift his head from the ground and stared at Chu Yang. If looks could kill, then Chu Yang would have died 1,000 times over. His bones would have been ground to dust. After a long while, Tang Xansheng let out a long sigh and said in a low voice, "You are really powerful. I did not think that I, a revered martial artist, would lose to you without even making a move. Ah, not at all, not at all. Ah. His body loosened and he fell to the ground. At this moment he suddenly felt disheartened. All of his schemes had been exposed in front of the opponent. It was as if he had been tricked to death, not defeated. If he had sensed the danger and left immediately, he would have been thousands of miles away by now. If he had confirmed his ominous premonition when he saw Chang'an, and didn't want to kill Chu Yang, and left immediately, he would have been safe by now. Even if he had retreated the moment he saw Chu Yang, he would still have been safe. Even if he could not have left, if he had attacked immediately, this king of Hell Chu would have died in his hands. However, he didn't do any of those things. Instead, he argued with the other party about wisdom, competed with the other party in scheming, and wanted to climb back up from where he had fallen. He wanted to return the humiliation that the other party had given him back to the other party, but he ended up failing on the verge of success, and even his life was about to be lost here. Step by step, the opponent calculated his plans with great precision. Moreover, he put on a cooperative posture and secretly made a move against him. It had to be said that the moment Tang Xianxing saw Chu Yang and admitted his identity, he felt a strong sense of defeat. His intelligence was outstanding, and he was confident that everything was under his control. He came to Iron Cloud alone, and with the help of his superior intelligence and intelligence network, he rose up the ranks and played with all the heroes of Iron Cloud in the palm of his hand. With the identity of a spy, he became a saint in Iron Cloud Citadel. If he did not expose himself, he would have waited for Diwu Qingro to attack. Once Tai Butian died, Iron Cloud Nation would be without a leader, and the world would be in chaos. At that time he could have overturned Iron Cloud in an instant. Everything was ready and he was only waiting for the right time. But at this time he failed miserably. Chapter 118. Tang Xianxia was a proud person. For a person like him to lose to Chu Yang in Stratagem E, it was natural that he would try to get back at Stratagem E. Therefore Tang Xianxing swore that he would personally kill Chu Yang in the most humiliating moment of his life, when he thought that his plan was flawless and when he was most proud of himself. For an intellectual, this was a blow that went from the physical body to the soul. Tang Xianxing really hated Chu Yang to the bone. 10 years of hard work and Chu Yang just came and turned it into nothing. But Chu Yang took advantage of Tang Xianxing's hatred and unwillingness to submit to him. Using Tang Xianxing's mentality, Chu Yang calmly laid down a trap, leaving Tang Xianxing powerless. When Tang Xianxing did not think of a stratagem with Chu Yang had already made the first move and used his stratagem to lure him out. When Tang Xianxing wanted to use his stratagem with Chu Yang used force. When Tang Xianxing wanted to use force against Chu Yang, he could not move. Despicable? Despicable. But Tang Xianxing could not help but admire Chu Yang's ability to calculate. He had to admit that from the moment he deliberately let Chu Yang recognize him, he was led by the nose by Chu Yang. This should have been his initiative, but for some reason, all the initiative was in Chu Yang's hands. In the end, Tang Xianxing asked himself, if I were in the same position as him, would I be able to do all this? As a martial warrior, would I be able to defeat and capture a revered martial artist? Moreover, without using the power of others, the answer was, I would not be able to do it. I was not defeated, I was defeated by a stratagem. With my intelligence I was tricked by someone else. What else is there to say? Therefore Tang Xianxing sighed and gave up all his efforts. He did not even curse Chu Yang. He just closed his eyes and gave up on resisting. There was one thing Tang Xianxing did not know. Because of his vengeful heart and his conceit, he had left his mansion before Diwu Qingrou's news arrived. This caused Diwu Qingrou's letter to fall into Chu Yang's hands. Perhaps this was the biggest mistake that he had ever made. Chu Yang saw Tang Xianxing's extreme anger suddenly turn into calmness, and his heart trembled. This Tang Xianxing was in despair, but he was still able to maintain his composure and calm his anger in an instant. He was truly a powerful character. No wonder Diwu Qingrou had such high hopes for him. Men, take this old man away. Lock him in the Mending the Heavens room. The one who gave the order was Chang'an. Chu Yang had already flashed out of the encirclement, and silently disappeared from the crowd. When the black-clothed assassins who were several feet away surrounded him, they could only see a mysterious back view. No. Chu Yang. Xianxing. Chu. Grade revered martial artist. This weak scholar Tang Xansheng was actually a grade revered martial artist. He was actually a super master. Good heavens. I'm only a third grade revered saber artist. As for Qin Yutong, he is only a first grade revered martial artist. If I really fought with this Tang Xansheng, I'm afraid none of the people here would be able to survive. And Tang Xansheng would still be able to leave. Grade revered martial artist. If he wanted to leave, not many people in Iron Cloud Citadel could stop him. Moreover, Tang Xansheng was an extremely cunning person. No wonder he was so confident and so conceited. He actually set up such a trap right in front of Iron Cloud Citadel's door and used Iron Cloud Citadel to kill and humiliate King of Hell Chu. Thinking of this, Chang'an felt a chill from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. He remembered Chu Yang's position just now. If Tang Xansheng had attacked without caring about anything, Chu Yang would have been killed in an instant. There would have been no chance of survival. But at that time, Chu Yang's demeanor was relaxed and he was talking cheerfully. He did not seem nervous at all. Minister Chu's mental strength was really strong. What Chang'an did not know was that Chu Yang was sweating profusely right now. Once the order was given, all the black-clothed men escorted this old man back to Butian Pavilion as if he was their own father. They were escorted in front and behind. Yes, an old man is an old man. Since Tang Xansheng did not reveal his identity, Chang'an naturally would not reveal his identity to avoid attracting trouble. As for Tang Xansheng's family, Minister Chu had said, "Do not touch them. Keep them." With King of Hell Chu's words, Chang'an believed that not only would he not dare to touch them, but even Butian Pavilion and General Long Cheng would not dare to touch them. Chu Yang had already returned to Butian Pavilion. His back was also covered in cold sweat. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. The first thing he did was to call the people of Heavenly Secret Hall over and scold them. Qin Yutong and the others were also unlucky. They were scolded until their faces were covered in photoshopped spittle, but they did not dare to retort. King of Hell Chu's scolding voice shook the roof. "Are you all idiots? No, even idiots are smarter than you. Even pigs are more confident than you. Fuck. What the hell? What kind of information are you all looking for? All of you get the hell out of here. Go home and farm. You will regret it. Eating rice every day has turned you into an idiot, right? A bunch of bastards who can't even see the sky turning dark. You're so stupid that the sun and moon lose their light." King of Hell Chu's rage caused the entire Butian Pavilion to tremble. The people inside were being scolded. Everyone's faces were pale. They lowered their heads and did not dare to look up. The people outside were trembling with fear. Qin Yutong stood at the front and was being scolded. His whole body was covered in spittle. But he could not retort even a single word. Heavenly Secret Hall's report. Tang Xansheng, weak scholar, extremely intelligent and wise. He has no martial strength but is very good at strategizing. He is good at planning and controlling. This was the report that Qin Yutong personally wrote when Chu Yang asked for the third verification. And it was this investigation report that almost caused King of Hell Chu to report to the real King of Hell. A weak scholar suddenly turned into a low-level revered martial artist. This was the difference between heaven and earth. Such a huge mistake could not be forgiven. If something really happened to King of Hell Chu, Heavenly Secret Hall would probably be exterminated by Tai Butian. Even if it was just martial strength unknown, no one has seen him use martial strength, it would have been fine to change the literal meaning. If that was the case, Chu Yang wouldn't have gone to look for her alone. If it weren't for his previous life's experience of going through fire and water, if it weren't for his habit of being cautious, if it weren't for the fact that he always had a backup plan, and if it weren't for Chu Yang's belief that even a lion must use its full strength in a fight, then this time King of Hell Chu would have been delivering food to Tang Xansheng. How dangerous. Chu Yang thought about it and felt his thighs cramping. Too hateful. Even though he came back safely and successfully, this kind of mistake could not be forgiven. If he continued to be so careless, he would have to face Diwu Qingrou's sinister and cunning peerless elegance. Who knows when he would be wiped out? As King of Hell Chu's roar shook Butian Pavilion, Qin Yutong's savior finally arrived. Chang'an proudly escorted the old man Tang Xansheng back to Butian Pavilion. King of Hell Chu's attention had been diverted by his return. Reporting to the minister. This subordinate did not fail his mission and brought this old man to justice. "I am here to hand over the order." Chang'an was very arrogant. Looking at Qin Yutong who was being scolded, he took great pleasure in his misfortune. As Yajujio reported in high spirits, he glanced at Qin Yutong again and again, winking and winking. Even his yellow front teeth were exposed, and he was smiling so widely that his eyebrows could not be seen. Cool. Really cool. Watching others get scolded is cool. Qin Yu Tong grinned and angrily glared at him. He cursed Qing Ang's ancestors in his heart. Who told you to take pleasure in my misfortune? When Chang'ang arrived, King of Helchu was thirsty from all the scolding. He was drinking from a cup of tea. As soon as he heard Chang'ang's triumphant report, he immediately spat out the tea in his mouth onto Chang'ang's face, and then started coughing. Chang'ang's expression was very interesting. He was originally proud and full of smiles. Who would have thought that there would be a sudden rainstorm with some heat? In a flash, he became a drowned rat. He reached out and wiped his face. The tea was dripping and he even wiped off a few pieces of tea. He could not help but feel depressed. He secretly glanced at King of Hell Chu and complained in his heart, "King of Hell, what happened to you, huh?" Qin Yu Tong saw Chang'ang's sorry state and felt very good. He could not help but open his mouth and laugh. After laughing twice, he realized that he was still a criminal. How could he be proud? Therefore, he quickly shut his mouth and secretly glanced up. He saw that King of Hell Chu was still coughing like an asthmatic. Only then did he feel relieved. Then he looked down and stood perfectly straight. Cough, 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 cough. Chuyang coughed for a while. Then he raised his head with a red face and angrily shouted, "You still have the face to be proud? Let me ask you, what did I ask you to do?" Chang'ang was tongue-tied. He did not have time to retract his happy expression before it was replaced by one of astonishment. His expression was very strange. He opened his mouth but could not speak. Chuyang was very angry. He was unable to restrain his anger. "Are you very good? I asked you to spy on others. What did you do? You sent yourself to people's noses to be spied on? Saying that you are, is an insult." Puff. Qin Yu Tong repeatedly coughed. "This is too cool. I can't help it." Chang'ang's face turned red. He did not know where to put his hands and feet. "They are right behind your ass. If they fart, they will cover their noses. You are still happily talking to me about watermelons and white melons?" Chuyang was so angry that he felt dizzy. Chuyang was so angry that he felt dizzy. He gritted his teeth and pointed at Cheng Wuang's nose. You say you? I asked you to spy on the enemy. I asked you to deal with the enemy. You were unknowingly used as a trap to deal with me. And you are still so proud of yourself. You. Chu Yang's fingers trembled. He was so angry that he gasped. "Do you know how Zhu's grandmother died?" Chang'ang had been scolded until he was dizzy and battered. When he heard the question, he couldn't help but ask, "How did he die?" "Stupid. Fuck." Chuyang roared. He could not control his anger. "With your IQ, you are still asking for credit? You are still so proud? You think you are very smart? You are still arrogant and mocking others? You are. Oh. How can you? How can you be so thick-skinned? Ha 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 ha." Qin Yu Tong finally could not bear it. He hugged his stomach and squatted on the ground. His tears flowed out. He was out of breath and his whole body was spasming. "I can't take it anymore. Even if my head is chopped off, I have to laugh happily." After a burst of anger, King of Hell Chu finally vented his anger. He said coldly, "What else do you have to say?" Qin Yu Tong and Chang'ang were somewhat dejected. No more. Lien Yu Tong was better. Chang'ang was like a cigar that had been hit by frost. He was so ashamed that he could not show his face. "If you don't have anything, why are you still standing here? Do you think you two are very handsome? Do you want me to find a wife for you?" Chu Yang slammed the table and roared like thunder. "Why are you still not inviting your grandmother here? Do you still need me to teach you this kind of thing? Do you feel good to be scolded?" The two suddenly regretted that their parents did not give birth to them with two more legs. With a schwa sound, they disappeared from the hall without a trace. In the small room inside, Wu Qian was holding a pen. She was laughing so hard that she was out of breath. She rubbed her stomach and covered her mouth. Her shoulders were trembling non-stop. This was the first time she had seen Chu Yang so angry. However, Chu Yang's anger could really make people laugh. Naturally, the target of his anger would not find it funny. After a while, Chu Yang came in with a teacup in his hand. Wu Qian was still laughing so hard that she wanted to die. Chu Yang was startled. "Is it really that funny?" Wu Qian called out, "Mother." She almost laughed until her intestines were broken. After a long time she held back. However, her shoulders still twitched from time to time. "Chu Yang?" Wu Qian tried hard to say, "Scolding like this, will it cause disgust?" "Absolutely not." Chu Yang said confidently, "Scolding people has to be balanced. Right now, the two of them are rejoicing in each other's misfortune. They're in the same boat. Besides, the mistakes that they had made today were unforgivable. If they are not taught a lesson, sooner or later something big will happen. As he said this, Chu Yang sighed. He was somewhat dispirited. Wu Qianqian laughed and said, "However, this time, you are a little too arrogant. I have no choice." Chu Yang sighed. Right now, Butian Pavilion is far from being a true fighting force. If you want to pull them out to compete with Diwu Qingro, these people cannot even compare to a single strand of his hair. The only way is to find a mistake and ruthlessly correct it and slowly correct it. Only then can we barely fight. If we speak softly every day, I am afraid that when Diwu Qingro comes in, they will still be irresponsible perverts. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, "The more we scold them now, the less we will suffer in the future. You have to remember, the spirit of an iron-blooded soldier and the valiant morale are not cultivated. They are fought and scolded." Chu Yang said slowly. Wu Qianqian grunted. She carefully thought about the meaning of Chu Yang's words and could not help but fall into deep thought. Not long after, the sound of horses galloping could be heard. Then they suddenly stopped outside Butian Pavilion. Then hurried footsteps could be heard. Tai Butian was wearing a big white turtle robe as he walked in with big strides. He was wearing a white robe and a golden crown. His face was cold and his eyes were like lightning. Behind him, there were two people following closely behind him. Chu Yang smiled and went forward to greet them. Suddenly he felt something and his eyes flashed. Just like that, they followed behind Tai Butian. Even though they appeared in broad daylight, they still gave Chu Yang an eerie and illusory feeling. It was as if he was looking at two shadows and not real people with flesh and blood. When these two people walked, one on the left leg and the other on the right leg, it looked very messy, but it was a perfect harmony. They perfectly made up for any flaws in the other party's body. Moreover, when these two people stood together, anyone who looked at them would involuntarily feel that these two people were the same person. Moreover, these two people seemed to be walking very slowly. However, if one looked carefully, they would often only take one step and they would float a distance of several feet. And this distance was enough for other people to take 7 or 8 steps. They didn't walk but floated? With these two people following Tai Butian, Chu Yang suddenly felt that Tai Butian's front, back, left, and right were all covered with copper and iron walls. When Chu Yang looked at the other party, these two people were also quietly sizing him up. Chu Yang only felt his whole body turn cold and tense. Even the hair on his back stood up. This feeling was as if he was being watched by ghosts. And it was countless malicious ghosts. Chu Yang's gaze finally moved away. But in his heart he was thinking, these two people. Diske, they are really big girls taking off their pants? Not simple, not simple. Looks like these two people are Tai Butian's final trump card? This is also the biggest reason why Diwu Qingru is so wary of assassinating Tai Butian. Just as he was thinking, Tai Butian had already arrived in front of him. He asked hurriedly, "Minister Chu, that person has been caught?" In his excitement, Tai Butian was very close. The moment he opened his mouth, Chu Yang instinctively felt a sweet fragrance. He couldn't help but frown. A strange expression appeared in his eyes. Tai Butian seemed to have sensed something. He quietly took half a step back. Caught. Chu Yang rolled his eyes. I almost lost my old life. This guy has never shown himself before. He is actually a low-grade revered martial artist. How impressive. Tai Butian's expression turned serious. How are the casualties in Butian Pavilion? When he heard that the other party was so strong, he naturally thought that Butian Pavilion must have suffered heavy losses. There are no casualties. Cough cough. I used poison. Chu Yang coughed twice and said in a low voice. As soon as these words came out, the two shadowy figures looked at Chu Yang with eyes full of contempt. This kind of contempt was very obvious. Anyone could see it. Chu Yang's heart moved. He raised his head and looked at the two people. Do the two seniors think that using poison in a fight with such a high-level martial artist is blasphemous to martial arts? The two didn't answer. Instead, four pairs of cold eyes looked at Chu Yang. None of us are his match. And behind us are the millions of people of Iron Cloud. If we fight him head-on, we are definitely not his match. If we don't use poison to catch him, he can turn Iron Cloud Citadel upside down. There is no need to. Is that okay? Chu Yang said slowly. There was a hint of contemplation in the two people's eyes. But the contempt in their eyes lessened by more than half. I am not saying this to explain to you. I want you to understand. Chu Yang's gaze was like a knife. He said slowly, the two of you are too protective. The enemy has many tricks up his sleeve. If you still hold on to the spirit of martial arts, if the enemy's ghost realm method succeeds, then in the future, you will be the sinners who caused the death of the enemy. You must take responsibility. Take full responsibility. Chu Yang's words had a hidden meaning. Chu Yang's martial power was not high, but his mental power was extremely strong. With the imprint of his previous life and the true heaven-splitting divine technique as his backing, his mental power was at least at the level of a 4th or 5th level revered martial artist. But in front of these two people he felt completely suppressed. His mental power was completely suppressed. Then these two people were at least king-level masters. Plus, in a king-level land their level should not be low. With these two people by his side and the cooperation of other masters, Tai Butian was as steady as Mount Tai. In lower 3 heavens, no matter if it was an assassination or a direct attack, there was absolutely no power that could hurt Tai Butian. Even if the 4 king-level masters of Golden Horse Riders Department under Diwu Qingro attacked at the same time, Tai Butian would still be safe and sound. Even if these two people were no match for him, they were fully confident that they could protect Tai Butian and escape. But in his previous life, Tai Butian was assassinated. Then the only reason was that the enemy used a conspiracy. And these two people, from the look of disdain they gave him, Chu Yang knew that these two guys were the kind of martial artists who were very traditional in their thinking. This was perhaps the biggest weakness of these two people, or perhaps the biggest weakness of Tai Butian's protection. Such people naturally could not deal with the enemy's sophisticated conspiracy. If he could see it, how could Diwu Qingro not see it? Besides, he was a hero who would do anything to achieve his goal. Chu Yang felt that he needed to remind him, because the trajectory of this life had changed. Who knew if Diwu Qingro would take action in advance? You can't do it, the master on the left suddenly said. His voice was dry as if he had not spoken for a whole year. But we will never do it. After saying that, he shut his mouth. Shut up tight. Tai Butian turned her head to look at him in astonishment. She had never seen these two shadows speak to anyone since she could remember. Even her second uncle Tai Longcheng didn't speak to anyone. She had never expected that they would speak to Chu Yang today. Moreover, they had even praised him. What was even more ridiculous was that there was a hint of apology in their words. This was really strange. Chu Yang nodded, but he was thinking that these two people's views would not be changed so easily. What else did he need to do? Where is that person? Bring me to see him. I want to ask him personally. Tai Butian's face was full of frost. The whole of Iron Cloud had been deceived by this person for 10 years, including Tai Butian herself. Chapter 119. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, over here. Chu Yang led Tai Butian and the others to the prison. When they reached the door, Chu Yang, Tai Butian, and the two shadows walked in. The others stayed outside. The prison was not dark and damp, it was dry and clean. In the corner there was an iron pillar as thick as a person's waist. Tang Xinsheng's whole body was shackled and tied to it. When he saw Chu Yang come in, he even showed a peaceful smile. It was as if being tied to this pillar was as comfortable as lying on a bed at home. The people of Heaven Mending Pavilion had already restored his original appearance. He now had the appearance of a 30-something-year-old handsome scholar. Tai Butian slowly walked in with his hands behind his back. He looked at Tang Xinsheng for a long time without blinking. Tang Xinsheng smiled warmly, just like when he was talking to Tai Butian in court. Official Tang, what is your relationship with Diwu Qingro? Tai Butian walked to the table in the center and slowly sat down. He did not ask if you are a spy, but directly asked about your relationship with Diwu Qingro. This could give people the misconception that we already have a complete grasp of your situation, so there's no need to deny it. Your Highness is taking things for granted by asking this question. Tang Xinsheng chuckled. I, Tang Xinsheng, may be a prisoner, but I am not someone who will be forced to confess. So you are really a spy from Great Zhao? Tai Butian closed his eyes. I don't want to admit it. When you first tried to trick me, I also wanted to deny it. Haha, I can only say that my temperament is not good enough. Tang Xinsheng smiled freely. Since it has come to this, how can I still deny it? Tai Butian sighed and said, Official Tang, you are very capable and have many tricks up your sleeve. I have always respected you and thought highly of you. I even thought that if one day the world was at peace, I would appoint you as the Prime Minister of Iron Cloud. I had high hopes for you, but I never thought that I would be deceived by you for 10 years. Tai Butian's words were very sincere. Even Tang Xan Sheng, who was tied to the iron pillar, was silent for a while. He remembered the harmonious relationship between the monarch and his minister. He sighed and said, "His Highness has indeed treated me well. However, the two countries are at war and each has his own master. This Tang also sighs endlessly." He paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "This Tang's biggest advantage was that when I entered Iron Cloud, your Highness was still young and could not see through this Tang's disguise. By the time your Highness grew up, everything was already set in stone. Thus I was able to stay in Iron Cloud for 10 years. If it was the current Butian Tai, I'm afraid he would have been caught on the first day." After saying that, he laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "Your Highness is wise and far-sighted, and you have the world in your heart. You are a mighty lord of your generation. Unfortunately, he was born at the wrong time. Against Diwu Qingro, any genius can only end up turning into ashes." "Diwu Qingro?" Tai Budian took a deep breath and spoke in a sentimental tone. However, there was a sharp glint in her eyes. "Diwu Qingru is indeed an ambitious and ruthless person. And it's precisely because of this that I need to know everything that you know, Lord Tang." "I will not say. Your Highness should also know that such an answer would lead to such a result." Tang Xen Sheng smiled warmly and said, "Your Highness, please take into account that I have not caused any great losses to Iron Cloud. The current me has not made any mistakes. I ask your Highness to preserve some dignity for me." "Dignity?" Tai Butian's expression changed. It seemed that he was conflicted. But in the end he sighed softly. He stood up and walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. He walked to the entrance of the hall and said casually, "Let him speak." After he finished speaking, he waved at Chu Yang and walked out without looking back. This Butian Tai finally showed his iron-blooded side. Chu Yang also followed him out and stood side by side with Tai Butian in front of the eaves. He could feel that right now Tai Butian's heart was not feeling good. Suddenly a strange sound came from the cell. Then Tang Xen Sheng's tragic roar could be heard, "Kill me!" Then came a series of screams. Tang Xen Sheng gritted his teeth and shouted, "Tai Butian, you use such despicable means to torture a strong person. Don't you feel ashamed? I just want a dignified death. You won't even give it to me?" Tai Butian stood quietly. His jade-like face did not have the slightest expression. "Senior Chu, I feel very sorry for this person." Tai Butian clasped his hands behind his back and said quietly, "I used to admire his ability." Chu Yang rolled his eyes behind his mask and said, "That is natural. An enemy that can make us feel sorry is the most terrifying enemy. If the enemy can make us look down on him, then we do not need to go to such lengths." "That's right." Tai Butian nodded slightly and said, "Torturing a strong person, a wise person, is really not my intention. However, I must know what he knows. If not, I would rather give him a quick death. I am also very willing to give him a quick death." Chu Yang was silent for a while and said, "In this world, some things cannot be forced. And some people, even if you break all their bones, they will not say a word. Tang Xen Sheng is such a person. When I first caught him, I did not have the slightest hope of prying open his mouth. I am afraid you will be disappointed." Tai Butian was silent. After a while he said, "Not necessarily. Those two guards of mine are practically from hell, so I'm very confident in their methods. It is just that, for Tang Xen Sheng it is a bit cruel." Chu Yang smiled and said, "Hua, you can wait and see." Tai Butian smiled gently and said, "Minister Chu, do you want to make a bet with me?" Chu Yang smiled, "Could it be that your Highness is a gambler? What kind of bet?" "Let's bet on whether Tang Xen Sheng will speak or not." Tai Butian said, "I bet that if I win, will Minister Chu stay in Iron Cloud? No matter when. I hope to create a prosperous Iron Cloud with you." As he said this, Tai Butian turned his head and looked at Chu Yang, his eyes full of sincerity. Tai Butian had always been brooding over the conversation he had with Chu Yang. It was a loss for such a talent to not stay in Iron Cloud forever. Chu Yang's performance during this period of time proved this point even more. Now Tai Butian was clearly making another effort. "You will be disappointed again." Chu Yang faintly smiled. Then he shifted his gaze away and said, "Well, I'll bet. But if I win, I want to go to the Imperial Palace's medicine storehouse and treasure storehouse to pick some things." Chu Yang had always remembered Mo Qingwu's injury and half a heavy pill. Chu Yang's condition seemed to be incomparable to Tai Butian's condition. But both of them knew that this was what they cared about the most at the moment. "Yes. Good. It's a deal." Tai Butian was overjoyed. He raised his palm, obviously wanting to make an oath. Chu Yang looked at Tai Butian's palm and his heart skipped a beat. Tai Butian's palm was white, slender and slender. Moreover, it was almost 2 sizes smaller than his own palm. Was this still a man's palm? Tai Butian saw Chu Yang staring at his hand and his expression changed. He unconsciously said with some annoyance, "Are you going to bed or not? Why are you in a daze?" Chu Yang immediately came back to his senses. He smiled awkwardly and raised his hand to meet Tai Butian's. Bang! The 2 soldiers' palms collided with each other. When their palms touched, Chu Yang only felt that Tai Butian's palm was extremely soft and smooth. He couldn't help but smile and say, "Your Highness really takes good care of yourself." Tai Butian was startled. He retracted his hand at lightning speed and snorted. He said in a slightly rough voice, "I won't regret it even if I die. Minister Chu, don't go back on your word." Chu Yang laughed out loud. He then said with certainty, "I won't lose." The 2 of them looked at each other. Tai Butian looked at the sinister mask on Chu Yang's face and smiled. "Minister Chu, is it effective to be so mysterious?" Chu Yang chuckled and didn't answer. He asked instead, "What do you think? All arrangements will not be made without aim." Tai Butian laughed. After a long time, the moans in the cell became weaker and weaker. However, they were connected and trembling. After a while, a shadow floated out. His face was dark and his eyes were filled with fury. "How is it?" Tai Butian didn't turn around and asked confidently. "I can't pry open his mouth." The shadow was somewhat ashamed. "Huh?" Tai Butian turned around in shock. "You're not saying anything?" The shadow nodded. There was anger in his eyes and a hint of admiration. He said, "I have never seen such a tough bone in my life." Tai Butian fell silent and said, "Let's go in and take a look." They walked to the door of the cell and looked inside. Even Chu Yang, who had a heart of stone, couldn't help but feel a little nauseous. These 2 shadows were really from hell. Tang Xen Sheng inside was no longer in human form. Tang Xen Sheng's body did not have any open wounds, but his veins were bulging out of his skin like little snakes slithering all over his body. 2 of his veins were squeezed together as if they had a life of their own, squirming and slowly tightening until they were able to break his bones. The sound of cracking could be heard. Tang Xen Sheng's eyes were bulging like bells. He couldn't shout or moan. However, his eyes occasionally returned to normal and were full of mockery. Yin Yang Thunderbolt Bone-Splitting Hand. Chu Yang's heart was heavily shaken. This was the cruelest punishment in the world. The person who was subjected to it would feel 100 times worse than death. There was no one in the world who could endure this kind of punishment. And this Tang Xen Sheng had actually endured it. At this moment, Chu Yang felt heartfelt admiration for this spy's tough bone. Although he was an enemy, this kind of hero was rare in the world. Tai Butian's face flushed red. A layer of fine goosebumps could be clearly seen. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Is there any other way?" The 2 shadows were silent, but they shook their heads at the same time. Chapter 120. There was another way. One of them, Wu, said in a low voice, "But it's not human, it's an insult. But it might not be able to. If inhumane does not work, then why should we insult such a good man?" Chu Yang coldly snorted and interrupted. "Don't say any more." Tai Butian frowned and said decisively. He and Chu Yang spoke almost at the same time. The 2 shadows stepped back expressionlessly. Ugh. Tai Butian looked at Fang Shui's miserable state and retched. He waved his hand and said, "Minister Chu is right. Let's give him a quick death. We have many ways to deal with Diwu Qingro. We have no choice but to torture him. Why should we insult such a good man? Kill him? What a pity." Chu Yang did not agree. Even if he was raised as bait, he would still be a treasure. "Kill him." Tai Butian sighed, "How can we bear to humiliate such a good man? There are some things that he can do even if he is dead. The key is how we do it. There is no need to torture a hero. Since His Highness has decided, then let's give him a quick death." Chu Yang nodded and took out his dagger. He slowly walked in front of Tang Xen Sheng. His heart was also inclined to give Tang Xen Sheng a quick death. But for the sake of the big plan, he had to keep him alive. Since Tai Butian had said so, Chu Yang did not insist. Looking at Tang Xen Sheng, Chu Yang said softly, "Why don't you kill yourself?" Tang Xen Sheng could not speak, but his eyes revealed a proud expression. He did not need to say anything. Chu Yang already understood. Such pride, such a proud person, such a proud bone, would rather be tortured to death by the enemy than commit suicide. His life would not end in his own hands. Chu Yang nodded and used his wrist to stab Tang Xansheng's heart. He said softly, "Rest in peace. In the next life we will be enemies again." A trace of gratitude flashed in Tang Xansheng's eyes. Then he revealed a calm smile. At the moment of his death, he miraculously opened his mouth. "Fifth, has an opponent. Unfortunately. I can't see it." His head tilted to the side and he passed away. His lifeless body stopped spasming and slowly laid flat on the ground. His originally distorted face miraculously regained its composure, and he even vaguely retained his original elegance and warmth. Chu Yang sighed. A hero should not be humiliated. But this time he did not know if killing Tang Xansheng was right or wrong. His value alive was much greater than dead. "Good man, official Tang, I should not have used you as a bet." Tai Butian looked at Tang Xansheng's body and solemnly said, "If you have a next life, I hope to be able to be your servant." Chu Yang's heart shook. He suddenly raised his head. He could tell that Tai Butian's words were truly from the bottom of her heart. Everyone would respect such a good man, but it was unusual for Tai Butian to say so. Just this sentence alone showed that Tai Butian was one level lower than Diwu Qingru. After all, he was not an ambitious and ruthless person who would do anything to achieve his goals. First he gave Tang Xansheng a quick death. Now he felt sorry for him. Killing people was cruel, but for Tang Xansheng it was a good thing. Thirsting for talent was a good thing, but thirsting for talent from the enemy was digging one's own grave. This kind of mentality was a good thing for people, but for a weak ruler in a war between two countries, it was not necessarily a good thing. Don't worry. Our enemies, even if they are heroes of the great Liao, should be killed. Tai Butian smiled as if he had seen through Chu Yang's thoughts. He explained, "I will not be merciful, but I must show enough respect to my enemies." Chu Yang smiled and said, "That's right. I thought His Highness was going to renege on his promise." He thought to himself, perhaps this is the charm of Tai Butian's personality. After all, he and Diwu Qingru are different people. Ah! Tai Butian naturally knew that Chu Yang was trying to calm her down. She smiled and said, "Minister Chu, don't worry. I am a man of my word." As she spoke, she walked out and said, "Bury Tang Xansheng. Don't let anyone know." There were only two people waiting outside, Chengong and Chen Yutong. The two of them complied and went to do the job. Tai Butian walked in silence for a while. Then she suddenly turned her head and asked Chu Yang, "Tang Xansheng is dead. What about his family?" Chu Yang was silent for a while and said, "According to my guess, Tang Xansheng's family may not be his real family. A person like him would not do such a stupid thing. Now, if the people in the house are gone, then it is real. If they are still there, then it must be fake." Tai Butian nodded and said, "That's right. Investigate." Not long after, the investigator replied, "Tang Xansheng's son and wife are at home. Minister Chu, do you think?" Tai Butian looked at Chu Yang with an inquiring gaze. Chu Yang sighed in his heart and said, "They can't die yet. The news of Tang Xansheng's death must be kept a secret. Keep their mother alive. Whether it is true or not, we can make Diwu Qingru fall into a trap. Of course, if Diwu Qingru sends someone to pick them up, then they must be kept alive or killed. But if they don't come, then it will be proven to be fake. At that time, it will be up to them." Tai Butian walked out a few steps. Facing the cold wind, he took a deep breath. Obviously, the cruel scene in the prison made this pampered Tai Butian uncomfortable. It was already very good that he could endure it. After a while, she turned her head and looked at Chu Yang. "Minister Chu, do you think that if we release the news that Tang Xansheng is in our hands, Diwu Qingru will send someone to save him?" Chu Yang chuckled. The current Tai Butian had finally returned to normal. He was no longer the soft-hearted Tai Butian from before. And after he recovered, the first thing he thought of was to use this matter to attack his opponent. The news will be released. Whether Diwu Qingru will come to save him or not, I can't say for sure. But Tang Xansheng must have been the most important part of Diwu Qingru's plan. This is beyond doubt. Chu Yang revealed a mysterious smile. Then he sighed, "Unfortunately he is dead now." Tai Butian paced 2 steps in silence and said, "There is news from the border. Diwu Qingru ordered the 5 legions in the north of Great Zhao to advance 100 miles. They are in a standoff with our army. Their swords are drawn. Because of this matter, Royal Uncle Long Cheng has already rushed to the front lines this afternoon." Tai Butian pondered and said, "Diwu Qingru hasn't made any moves. But now the 5 legions have suddenly been mobilized. Could it be related to Tang Xansheng? Chu Yang's heart shook. He suddenly remembered the note that Diwu Qingro wrote to Tang Xansheng. The scribbled words. Could Diwu Qingro be mobilizing his army for Tang Xansheng? Chu Yang's heart was moved. If this is the case, then my plan has a high chance of success. Tai Budian did not know that Chu Yang had intercepted Diwu Qingro's secret letter. But he still raised this question. Even though his tone was questioning, there was also some certainty. Tai Budian clearly saw through this point. Looking at Chu Yang's confident appearance, Tai Budian's eyes flashed and he asked, Minister Chu seems to be in some trouble right now? Do you want me to send 2 people to protect you? The enemy is full of experts. We cannot afford to be careless. No need. Chu Yang refused. His eyes flashed with a hint of excitement. You wanted to agree. Tai Budian said to send 2 people. Chu Yang naturally knew who he wanted to send. Right now the air seemed to be heavy. If Tai Budian was willing to send people to help, then this crisis could be averted. At least it would not be so dangerous. But Chu Yang also clearly knew that Tai Budian's safety was more important than his own. If Diwu Qingro sent people and found Tai Budian's guards by his side, then Tai Budian would be in danger. Besides, there was another important reason: the heart of a strong warrior. If he accepted the protection this time from a psychological point of view, it would mean that he was being protected, and he would lose his fearless spirit. This would cause an inner demon to form when he was trying to reach the peak. No matter what, no matter how strong the enemy was, he had to face it first. If he did not even face it, then his state of mind would really be destroyed. The heart of a strong warrior was to be fearless of everything. Chu Yang revealed a hint of a conceited smile. Life and death were not worth mentioning in front of such a mentality. The path of a strong warrior was filled with life and death difficulties at every step. Did he have to rely on Tai Budian every single time? Tai Budian looked at the divine light in Chu Yang's eyes that flashed with the desire to test the world. A hint of splendor also flashed across her eyes. She sighed softly and said no more. Not long after Tai Budian left, Wu Qianqian walked out of King of Hell Chu's room with a piece of paper in her hand. Those who saw it shuddered violently in their hearts. This time, who were they going to deal with? This is the name of several clans. Wu Qianqian handed the piece of paper to Qing'ong and said, the minister said that no matter what method was used, no matter how much manpower and resources were used, these people must be completely controlled. But don't make a move and don't alert them. Qing'ong took the paper and looked at it. His face immediately turned bitter. There were more than a dozen names on the paper. There were also a few clans. Qing'ong felt like the world was spinning. To do this with only 40 or so people from Fierce Blood Hall was too difficult. This time, Heavenly Secret Hall will cooperate with Fierce Blood Hall. Wu Qianqian's next sentence made Qin Yu Tong, who was laughing on the side, turn pale. Qing'ong and Qin Yu Tong looked at each other and sighed. Brothers, we are in the same boat. The names on the paper belong to the people who provided Tang Xansheng with proof. In other words, they belonged to Tang Xansheng's faction. From the moment Tang Xansheng entered Jingguan City, all of them had been captured in one fell swoop on this piece of paper. Also, tell Hall Leader Qin to quickly deliver the things Minister Chu wants. Wu Qianqian finished speaking and left. Qin Yu Tong was stunned for a moment. Then he jumped up as if his butt was on fire and rushed back to Heavenly Secret Hall. Immediately after, his flustered and exasperated voice rang out, "Hey! Last time, how much have you collected? Hurry up and bring it to me." A moment later, Qin Yu Tong walked into Chu Yang's room with a thick stack of documents and a fawning smile on his face. Minister Ha. Minister Ha. Qin Yu Tong nodded his head and bowed. This comical appearance made Wu Qianqian laugh out loud. She simply leaned on the table. How much? Chu Yang asked without lifting his eyelids. A total of 37, ha. Qin Yu Tong laughed dryly and wiped his cold sweat. Chapter 121. Much better. You see. Mo Qingwu blinked her eyes. Then she stretched out her hand and kicked her leg. She flaunted her martial prowess and excitedly said, Look, it's all better, right? Yes, that's great. Then he coughed twice. Then he said in a patient manner, This Qingwu my name is Mo Xiao Wu. Mo Qingwu puffed her cheeks and rolled her eyes. Uncle Chu Yang is so bad. You even remembered my name wrong. Here, Xiao Wu? Chu Yang was stunned. Is Qingwu your elder sister? Chu Yang was a little confused. Did I get it wrong? I don't have an elder sister. Mo Qingwu rolled her eyes and said, Jianghu is my full name. Mother said that I can only be called Jianghu after I'm 15. Now I'm Xiaowu. Do you understand? All the girls in the big clans are like this. Don't you know? Little Luo put her hands on her hips and looked at Chu Yang with her head tilted. She looked at Chu Yang with disdain for making such a big deal out of nothing. Chu Yang was sweating. He was nervous and forgot about this matter. The daughters of the big clans were usually given names at birth. But they would only be officially given names when they reached the age of 30. It was only when they reached the age of 30 that these girls would be officially known by outsiders. Or they would walk the martial world. Or from then on, the clan would start to look for their future husband. Of course, this was only the case for the outstanding daughters of the clan. Moreover, they would usually choose to marry into the family. Some girls with poor aptitude were basically betrothed at birth. They would become the tool of the clan's alliance through marriage, and would help the clan strengthen the clan, and Mo Qingwu's 3 meridian was destroyed. If she returned to the clan, after the Mo clan confirmed that she could not be cured, she would probably be reduced to a tool of marriage. Chu Yang looked at this little girl and felt a headache. But more than that, he felt heartache. The current Qingwu was innocent. How would she know the pain of being born in a big clan and being the daughter of the clan head? If she were to go back and face all those cruel things, would she break down? Thinking of the sadness on Mo Qingwu's face in his previous life, Chu Yang's heart ached. No matter what, he could not let Qingwu suffer that kind of pain again. Xiaowu, can you stay? Chu Yang held Mo Qingwu's small hand and asked softly, Look, there are mountains and rivers here, and there are also people. There are many fun things to do here. When we are free, I will take you out to watch juggling, eat candied haws, and find many sisters to accompany you. Not good. Mo Qingwu pouted and said, I miss father and mother. I want to be with father, mother, and grandpa and grandma. Uncle Chu Yang, are you going to separate Xiaowu from her parents? Little Luo pouted angrily and said, Uncle Chu Yang, you're so bad. Must. Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. He had calculated and calculated, but he had neglected to take into account the little girl's dependence and admiration towards her parents. Right now, Mo Qingwu was at her happiest and most blissful moment in her parents' hands. How could she leave? Before this, her aptitude was so good that she was doted on by her family. How would she know that just because she came out to play once and got a little injured, it would completely destroy her talent? Then how about we change the way we address each other? Chu Yang asked tentatively, Xiaowu, how old is your second brother? 21 years old. My second brother is very good. Mo Qingwu smiled sweetly. Look, I am only 10.5 years old this year, not even 17 years old. Your second brother is so much older than me. Chu Yang said, How can you call me uncle? When your second brother comes here, do you want him to call me uncle too? Wouldn't that be a mess? Don't you think so? Do you want me to call your second brother uncle too? That doesn't make sense, right? Chu Yang pursed his lips. He naturally couldn't agree to Mo Qingwu calling him uncle. But if Mo Qingji called him uncle, damn. Even if he called me grandfather or ancestor, I would agree. The little girl stared with her big round eyes and said, Yes, you are younger than my second brother. How can I call you uncle? Yes. Chu Yang hurriedly struck while the iron was hot and said, So you can't call me Uncle Chu Yang. You should call me Brother Chu Yang. Mo Qingwu bit her finger and looked at Chu Yang suspiciously. She said, But I feel that you are up to no good. You definitely have an ulterior motive. Chu Yang sweated a little. She could even tell that he was up to no good? Is this still a little girl? It was said that a woman's intuition was very accurate and powerful. This little girl's intuition wasn't bad either. How can I be up to no good? Chu Yang hurriedly defended himself. If this little girl had the impression that he was up to no good, it would be difficult to change it in the future. You see, I saved you and your Uncle Chengyu when you came here, right? I brought you to see your injuries and treat them, right? Also, I bought you candied haws. Look, it's very sweet. Chu Yang hurriedly gave the candied haws away. He was a little embarrassed. He didn't expect anything in return for his kindness. But he was really despicable and shameless. He actually wanted to show off in front of others and get something in return. And the reward he wanted was for this little girl to marry him. I am too evil. Mo Qingwu's eyes were fixed on the candied haws from the moment he came in. But she was too embarrassed to ask for it. She hurriedly took it and took a bite. Her beautiful big eyes narrowed into crescents. She smiled and said, Brother Chu Yang is a good person. Chu Yang was very happy. He had finally taken the first step. If Mo Qingwu kept calling him Uncle Chu Yang, then he would have no chance at all. Who had seen a girl choose her uncle as her husband? A big stone in Chu Yang's heart was finally lifted. From uncle to brother. Yes, he was very satisfied. Chu Yang originally thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to persuade her. He never thought that a stick of candied haws would be enough to buy her over. Sai, what was this saying? Yes, in the future, whoever bought the candied haws would have to go through him to give it to a Mo Qinggu. Women can be considered, but men. I have to chase them far away. This little girl is too innocent and too gullible. There are too many perverts. I have to be careful. In that instant, Chu Yang's thoughts flashed like lightning. He was thinking very far ahead. His face was gentle for a moment, full of longing for a moment, serious for a moment, heavy for a moment, and murderous for a moment. Mo Qinggu ate the candied haws in big mouthfuls while looking at this brother Chu Yang. Why does this uncle Chu Yang have to be brother Chu Yang? So strange. Also, his face is so cute. It can change. White for a moment, black for a moment, red for a moment. When Uncle Mo Qingyu finishes his cultivation, I will also let him change. Too strange. Ever since his rebirth, Chu Yang had always handled matters calmly. But it was the first time that his emotions had fluctuated so much like today's. After the little girl finished eating a stick of candied haws, she opened her small hand and took another stick. She ate until the corners of her mouth were full of sticky candy. She was beaming with joy. Chu Yang's heart was moved as he looked at her. He thought, if I use my mouth to kiss off the sugar stains on the corners of little Luo's lips. After thinking for a long time, he finally ran out of tea. After eating the sugar-coated haws, Mo Qingwu cleverly washed her hands. Then she thought for a while. Then she came to the medicine that Chu Yang had prepared for her. She looked at Chu Yang with a bitter face and tearful eyes. Elder brother Chu Yang, can I not drink this? It's too bitter. Not good. Chu Yang's face was stiff, but then he smiled. If you drink it, I will tell you a good story. You must keep your word. Mo Qingwu picked up the bowl of medicine with her small hand and gulped it down. Then she moved a small stool and sat in front of Chu Yang in a well-behaved manner. She rested her chin on her small hand and blinked her big eyes as she looked at Chu Yang, waiting to hear the story. There was even a sly smile on her face. Chu Yang slapped his forehead. He had been fooled. This little girl was born in a big clan. Although she was only 7 years old, she still had the ability to distinguish common medicinal herbs. Chu Yang was afraid that this bowl of medicine would be too bitter. After tasting it, although it was not very bitter, he had added a lot of cold honey. It was like sugar water. How could Mo Qingwu not smell it? She must have already smelled it and just set up a trap for Chu Yang to fall into. She wanted to listen to the story. If Chu Yang did not say that he would tell her a story, she would also happily drink it. Little demon, Chu Yang muttered in his heart. He thought, she is so young and already knows how to lie. What will she do when she grows up? He could only bitterly search for a story in his stomach, but Chu Yang had only said it casually to coax Mo Qingwu to take the medicine. How could he have prepared a story? After searching for a long time, he did not find any good story. Mo Qingwu's small face gradually turned ugly. She frowned and looked at Chu Yang suspiciously. She said disappointedly, Brother Chu Yang is lying, right? Her tone was full of distrust. Why would I lie? Brother Chu Yang will lie to anyone but you. Chu Yang suddenly had an idea. He had an idea. A long time ago. Chu Yang began. After a long time, Mo Qingwu's crisp voice said, This is not good. Tell me another one. Chu Yang wiped the sweat from his forehead. This one, then the next one, I heard. This one is not good either. Tell me another one. Chu Yang was sweating profusely. He frowned with a bitter face. Then tell me. Still not good. Tell me another one. Chu Tsong's eyes stared blankly. Tell me. Still not good. Tell me another one. Chu Yang's head spun. That year? Even worse? Little Luo glared at Chu Yang. She was about to flip out. Chu Yang fell to the ground. His face was ashen. He wanted to cry, but there were no tears. Oh my God, this, chasing girls and picking them up is too difficult. How can I live like this? I can't even get through this day, ha. Mo Qingyu had woken up at some point. Seeing Chu Yang's appearance, he could not help but laugh. He was rejoicing in Chu Yang's misfortune. Brother, you've finally experienced the pain that I've suffered. Chapter 122. Mo Qingyu showed an expression of, I want to help, but I can't, as he spread out his hands. He said, Little miss, look at how good Uncle Chu Yang is to you. Let Uncle Chu Yang tell you a few nice stories. 1 inch it's big brother Chu Yang. The little girl was very fierce. Her red mouth and white teeth looked as if she wanted to bite someone. She clawed at him and said, "Big brother Chuyang is lying. His stories are not nice at all." Mo Qingyu sweated a little and said, Okay, brother Chuyang is brother Chuyang. Big brother Chuyang has a good story. You will tell it soon. Really, big brother Chuyang? The little girl looked at Chuyang with hopeful eyes full of desire. Cough, cough, cough. Chuyang looked at Mo Qingyu with grief and anger. Damn, you are too shameless. Even if you are shameless, you can't be shameless to this extent. Mo Qingyu pretended not to see Chuyang's eyes. He smiled and said, Yes, I am. Miss, listen to brother Chuyang's story. It's very pleasant to hear. Buttocks with a turn, he disappeared without a trace. Chuyang's outstretched hand stopped in midair. He was completely speechless. Big brother Chuyang, hurry up and tell me. Mo Qingwu reached out her small hand and gently pulled Chuyang's sleeve. Her bright sleeves and big eyes made her look even more pitiful. Say something nice. Chuyang. After a long time, Chuyang came out of the secret chamber. His steps were staggering, his face was pale and his eyes were blank. His lips were dry. He sat down on the floor and groaned. He muttered, "Picking up girls is really good." He thought about how he would have to continue this picking up girls for at least 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10 years. Chuyang's eyes turned white. He had a strong feeling of collapse. Mo Qingwu was not like this when she became an adult. She was usually smiling gently and was very gentle. She would look at him and then quietly do her own thing. She was charming and elegant. Why was Mo Qingwu so strange when she was young? Chuyang sighed. Then he strode to the front of the water tank and plunged his head into it. I'm dying of thirst. If it were you, you wouldn't stop talking. Try a 2-hour story? Dude, this is going to kill people. However, Chuyang was still very gratified. He even felt that Mo Qingwu was the real Mo Qingwu now. Just happy. He would rather Mo Qingwu maintain this kind of pure happiness even after a few years. Childishness could disappear, but happiness could not. From tomorrow onwards, I'll go read extensively and specifically look for stories to read. Chuyang's heart was ruthless. I swear. In order to pick up girls, in order to raise them, I'm going all out. It was already afternoon. Chuyang had finished cooking and brought the rice in. Then he carefully distributed the rice bags evenly. In an instant, half of the traces in the pot were washed away. The bottom half is left unbrushed, and the dishes served, 2 of them were removed and placed aside. The remaining one was placed in a messy position. Okay. Then Chuyang gave Mo Qingyu a few words and left. Mo Qingyu was a king-level master. Of course, he was experienced and knew the severity of the situation. On this point, Chuyang is very assured. Moreover, the secret chamber was related to the Calamity Sword. Chuyang had built it for himself. If he was not a first-rate mechanism master, he would not have done it. Chuyang went out to find Tai Butian. Tai Butian had lost a bet to him. That was the medicine in the palace. Chuyang would not be courteous about it. Although it was said to be a joke, Chuyang had to take it seriously for once. This was related to Mo Qingwu. Qingwu's lifelong happiness was not serious. Okay. After Chuyang had left for more than 2 hours, suddenly, a few black shadows quietly landed in the sky. The warrior pavilions searched the entire island silently. Then they surrounded Chuyang. The few pavilions that were built at the very center of the island. One of them approached like a ghost. Then he silently entered and looked around. After circling around, he did not find anything and quietly left. How is it? The one waiting outside was a black-clothed masked man. His eyes were gloomy. They flickered faintly like a dark fire in the dark night. There's no one here. It's very clean. That person said, according to our investigation, there are only 2 people here. Moreover, one of them has been out for more than 20 days and has not returned. There is only 1 person here. The traces inside are also very clear. Recently there was indeed only 1 person here. Stay. 1. Go look for rice bags, pots, bowls, ladles, and basins. See if there's any medicine here. See if there are any traces of medicine. The black-clothed masked man's eyes were half closed as he spoke softly. Yes, throne. This time, 3 or 4 people entered the room at the same time. That throne stood for a while. Then he also moved his feet and walked step by step into Chuyang's room. I can't see anything from the rice bag. However, this guy is really sloppy. The floor is full of vegetable soup, pots, and bowls. The pots and pans are all unwashed. From the smell, it seems that he has not tidied up since last night. He should be alone. There's no doubt about it. Oh. That Throne walked into the kitchen suspiciously. As soon as he entered, he was almost smoked. His eagle-like eyes carefully examined every item. He then nodded lightly and said, "Yes, it's fine. It seems that there's only one person in here." "Throne, I found the medicine storehouse. Go take a look." The so-called medicine storehouse was an almost sealed small room. Inside, there were some medicinal herbs that Chuyang had no use for. They were scattered on the floor. Naturally, Chuyang did not forget to leave behind some medicinal herbs that were relatively more precious. This guy is really lazy. However, there are some good things. That Throne stood at the door and looked at the messy piles of medicine inside. He frowned. "There are 2 medicine pots here." One of the black-clothed masked men shouted. That king-level expert paced over. He slightly sniffed and said, "This is obviously new. It hasn't been used yet. But this motherfucker. This medicine was brewed at least a month ago. And the dregs of the medicine are still inside. Motherfucker." Chuyang spent a lot of effort to collect the dregs of medicine. Now he could finally put them to good use. One of the masked men even pushed aside the rotten white hair. He wrinkled his nose and looked at the dregs inside. He said with certainty, "It's for treating colds." "Get lost. Who told you to look through it? Are you very knowledgeable? You actually said that it's for treating colds." That throne-level leader wrinkled his nose in anger. He slapped the masked man's face. "Dregs from a month ago, even if it's for treating internal injuries, it shouldn't be related to the Mo clan. A month ago, Mo Qingyu was still sleeping in the Mo clan." It turned out that when that masked man looked through the dregs, the rotten smell of the dregs started to spread out. It made the medicine storehouse even more stinky than the public toilets in the barracks. Yes, I deserve to die." That masked man repeatedly admitted his mistake. He loosened his grip and threw the medicine pot away. It landed on the floor with a bang. It was a pot used to boil medicine. How strong can it be? Of course, it immediately broke into pieces. An even more intense stench spread out in all directions. That throne-level leader was furious. He slapped the masked man's face several times. Then he covered his nose and ran out of the medicine storehouse. His movement was extremely fast. Once he was outside, he gasped for air. His eyes were filled with anger. He had seen brainless people before, but he had never seen such a brainless person. Everyone who was searching around covered their noses and ran out in a sorry state. Asterisk. What is this smell? Who made it? I already smelled it to death. The throne-level leader covered his nose and asked in a low voice, "Did you find anything? Is there any secret passage or something like that?" His voice was filled with anger. "I didn't find anything." "If you didn't find anything, then why are you guys still here? Why aren't you leaving? Fuck your ancestors, do you think this place smells good?" The throne-level leader was furious. With a whoosh, he flew into the air and disappeared without a trace. He had been wronged. He was a Heimo king-level leader and a king-level master of Jianghu. Even in the upper 3 heavens, he was still a powerful person. When had he ever been to such a dirty place? What a disgrace. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They covered their noses and cursed as they followed behind the throne-level leader. The last person was the knowledgeable guy. He couldn't help but retch. He vomited to his heart's content and walked away weakly. The throne-level leader's slaps were not in vain. After all, he had lost 2 teeth and half a mouthful of blood. Official Chuyang naturally didn't know about these things. He was currently in the treasury of the palace. His Highness Butian was very puzzled by the fact that King of Helchu had come to his door to ask for a gambling debt. He was very puzzled. "You just made a fool of yourself, okay? Why is it that you don't trust me and come to my door to ask for a debt? Am I that untrustworthy? You don't trust me? Besides, gambling debts are very common in Ironcloud Citadel. Every day there are even fights because of gambling debts. But gambling debts from the ruler of a nation, the actual ruler of a nation, is not something that can be done easily. This was very unusual. Therefore Butian was very depressed. Looking at King of Helchu's anxious face, it was as if he would not give it to him if he was late. "Your Royal Highness, hee, you haven't honored the bet that you just made. You lost to me one, right?" Just look at what he said. Tai Butian almost fainted from anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "Minister Chu, you are really something. Do you think I can renege on my gambling debt?" I was just afraid that your highness would forget things." Chuyang was actually a little embarrassed, but he didn't show it. Who told him to be so thick-skinned? Being looked down on? It doesn't matter. As long as you honor your debt, you can look down on me as much as you want. As the saying goes, if you are thin-skinned, you can't eat. If you are thick-skinned, you can eat until you are satisfied. Chapter 123. This is it. Tai Budian said expressionlessly, Minister Chu, I'll wait for you outside. You can go in and pick whatever you want. It doesn't matter if you take them all. I won't have any complaints. Tai Budian was naturally very uncomfortable to be forced to pay off his gambling debts. Throughout history, he was probably the first person to be forced to pay off his gambling debts. This could be considered as a historical precedent. Tai Budian's heart was filled with resentment. These words were clearly meant to make things difficult for Chu Yang. Look at how generous I am. This is called elegance. This is called self-restraint. This is called temperament. Unlike you? Fuck, even if a hooligan wants to pay off gambling debts, he won't take them on the same day. Moreover, with just you alone, how much can you take away? Tai Budian was happy to be generous. Good, ha. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He rubbed his hands together, ignoring Tai Budian's dissatisfaction. Waha, your highness is a good person. I'm going. Before he finished speaking, he had already disappeared with a shio sound. He impatiently dove into the cave. Tai Budian didn't even have time to say a few words of modesty before there was no one in front of him. He couldn't help but laugh bitterly. He thought to himself, this king of Hell Chu is like his predecessors who have gone mad from poverty. He just arrived at Iron Cloud and robbed dozens of big families in one night. Now that he's looking at the treasury of the palace, he's like a bandit who has entered a village. That excitement. I really despise him. As he thought, he ordered someone to bring a chair over and sat down in front of the treasury. He thought to himself, I'd like to see how much you can take away. Look at you, you miser. Chu Yang stepped into the treasury and was immediately dazzled. Oh my god, so many good things. The calamity sword in his dantian also became active, eager to try. Don't rush, let's do it bit by bit. Chu Yang was calm. Looking at the huge treasury, he was very excited. As expected of the palace, it had been accumulated over many years. At the very front, there were all kinds of strange metals. As if afraid that Chu Yang wouldn't recognize them, there were labels on each of them. So standard. Chu Yang clicked his tongue in admiration. This will save me a lot of effort. With a flick of his wrist, the sword tip of the calamity sword appeared in his hand, shining brightly. Suck. Don't be shy, just suck it. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Leave 1 or 2 pieces of those that aren't rare. Those rare ones are hard to find outside. Absorb them all. No problem. The sword tip of Calamity Sword was like a hungry wolf that had been starved for years. Following Chu Yang's hand gestures, they began to devour like wolves and tigers. Tai Budian had been waiting outside. But who would have thought that he wouldn't come out even after waiting for so long? So he couldn't help but become bewildered. Don't tell me that this king of Hell Chu ate those medicines alive? The treasure vault was only so big he couldn't possibly get lost, right? He wanted to go in and take a look, but his previous words were too arrogant. If he went in, it would seem that he was being watched. Moreover, this king of Hell Chu would say that he was a sore loser. After pondering for a long time, Tai Budian still sat at the door and didn't move. She also hardened her heart. King of Hell Chu, I want to see how long you can stay in there. I'm going to waste my time with you today. After a long while, just when Tai Budian was about to lose her patience, finally, King of Hell Chu came out. When King of Hell Chu came out, he looked a little unhappy and dissatisfied. It seemed that this treasure vault in the palace had greatly disappointed him. Chu Yang's left hand was holding a few medicinal herbs. In his right hand he was holding 2 pieces of shining metal. Must. After coming out, Chu Yang sighed. He was very sincere and extremely disappointed. You were inside for such a long time and you only picked out these few things? Tai Buqian's eyes widened. Sigh. Chu Yang sighed again in disappointment. Then he raised his eyes and looked at Tai Budian. Your Highness, you are generous enough, but this treasure vault in the palace is really a little shabby. What's wrong? Tai Budian frowned. There really isn't much left, Chu Yang sighed. I searched left and right, I searched front and back, but in the end I only picked out these few things. As he said, he shook the 2 pitiful snow ginseng in his hand. The 2 pieces of metal in his right hand also touched each other, making a crisp sound. In this quiet space the sound spread far and wide. Compared to such a huge treasure trove, such a small amount of things was simply a pitiful burden. Only these few things? Tai Budian was a little surprised. Are your standards so high? Besides, these things aren't anything good in here. It's really... I'm too embarrassed to say it. Chu Yang said dejectedly, let's go. Wait. Tai Budian waved her hand. I'll go in and take a look. As she said, she dashed in, extremely vigorous. But after she went in, she was shocked. Was this still the treasure vault of the royal family? On each of the huge shelves, there were only a few pitiful pieces of metal on some shelves, and there were even some shelves that were completely empty. One by one, the labels trembled and swayed slightly with the sound of the wind brought by Tai Budian's sudden entrance, as if they were telling their infinite grievances, but there was a thick layer of dust on the shelves. Tai Budian looked at all this in disbelief. She kept muttering to herself, what's going on? What's going on? The pitiful Supreme Highness was a little confused. Chu Yang followed behind her and also walked in. He tried his best to say in a heavy voice, Supreme Highness, why do you have to do this? Actually, I'm already very satisfied to be able to find these two 500-year-old snow ginseng today. Tai Budian turned a deaf ear to him and walked in. Inside was the medicinal herb vault. Tai Budian clearly remembered that there were many heavenly treasures in here. When she went in to take a look, she stumbled and almost fell to the ground. There were still many medicinal herbs in here, including ginseng and ganoderma. But those rare heavenly treasures that ordinary people might not even see in their entire lives, were all gone. In fact, there weren't even any boxes. Tai Budian only felt a wave of dizziness and couldn't help but sway a little. Chu Yang very kindly hurriedly supported her and said, Supreme Highness, what's wrong? With this support, he felt that Tai Budian's shoulders were thin and weak but full of texture. Moreover, there was a faint feeling of a very slippery texture. Tai Budian calmly took a step forward and broke away from Chu Yang's support. She said, I really didn't expect that the royal family's treasure vault would actually fall to such a state. Your Highness also rarely comes to this treasure vault, right? Chu Yang said patiently. Of course. If there's nothing, why would I go to the treasure vault? I'm not a miser, Tai Budian said indifferently. Chu Yang didn't seem to realize that the miser that Tai Budian was referring to was himself. He only sighed and said, it's no wonder. After years of war, even a rich treasury would have long been empty. Every day, every hour, there are so many soldiers injured. No matter how many heavenly treasures there are, how can they save the lives of every warrior? Chu Yang's words had vaguely directed the spearhead to Tai Longcheng. Moreover, it was clear that even if all the medicines and things here were used up, they were used in the right way. Tai Budian was silent for a while. Then she slowly said, I think so. These things can be considered to be used to their full potential. When she saw the treasure vault in such a state, her first thought was exactly the same as Chu Yang's comforting words. In the whole world, only second uncle Tai Longcheng could come here and open this place. And second uncle's army thirsted for elixirs and strange metals. Needless to say, Tai Budian also knew. As for theft, there was no such possibility. If the elixirs were stolen, it might be possible. But those strange metals weighed hundreds of kilograms and some even thousands of kilograms. How could they be stolen in such a heavily guarded place like the royal palace? Even if one could steal a piece, who would have the ability to empty the entire treasure vault? Even if a supreme martial artist came, he would definitely not be able to do it so stealthily. Tai Budian naturally didn't know that the real culprit was King of Hell Chu, who was standing in front of her with a look of disappointment on his face. It was really hard on this guy. He had secretly made a fortune to this extent, but he still had to put on a worried look. How strong was his willpower? What kind of mental cultivation was required to achieve such a feat? She turned her head to look at Chu Yang. Tai Budian felt very ashamed in her heart. She had solemnly asked Minister Chu to go in and take it himself. In the end, when Minister Chu went in, it was as if he had just taken a stroll around. Even those things in his hands seemed to be just a gesture to comfort her. Tai Budian clearly saw that there were many more things in this treasure vault that Minister Chu had in his hands. It was obvious that Minister Chu was afraid that she would lose face. So, he deliberately took two of those things to comfort her. Thinking of this, Tai Budian felt even more uncomfortable in her heart. Minister Chu is a man of noble character and unquestionable integrity. He is so honest and considerate. He is so good at thinking for others. Minister Chu, it's as if I haven't repaid my gambling debt today. Tai Budian said with a serious smile. However, I guarantee that I will definitely compensate Minister Chu for this loss. What are you saying, Your Highness? Minister Chu spoke with awe-inspiring righteousness. Originally, I only wanted these things to forge a few weapons to equip the army. I also wanted to see if I could create a kind of divine medicine to offer to the crown prince in order to relieve the pain of the wounded. So what's this, or not? Minister Chu said sincerely and solemnly, Your Highness is too serious. Tai Buqian's heart surged. She couldn't help but look at Chu Yang with a strange expression. She tried hard to control her thoughts, but still couldn't help but pat Chu Yang's shoulder and said, Minister Chu, good. Good. Minister Chu is so benevolent and righteous. He's so considerate of the overall situation. He's such a hero with an open mind. So, how can he accept my offer of compensation to him? Not only will he not accept it, but it will also be an insult to Minister Chu's noble character. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.